Akainu was indeed very angry. Sengoku's statement made him really unacceptable. He did not deny that he wanted to save Lasana, but he also wanted to save other people and avenge others. As a result, when Sengoku spoke, he became a selfish person, all for Lasana. Of course, he also knows that it's not a good time to take action against the four emperors at this time, but there are some things that can't be done because it's not easy to do. For example, now, even if he knows it's not a good time, he must take action, otherwise he will regret for a lifetime. This incident also made him discover one thing: he is different from Sengoku. Sengoku is too conservative in doing things, and he is more radical in doing things, cannot say who is right and who is wrong, but now he definitely thinks he is right. Sakazuki, you are too impulsive. When Akainu assembled his staff to prepare for action, Doberman eagerly pulled him to persuade. Akainu said, I know what I'm doing, you just need to do your own thing, and everything after that will wait until I save Lasana and the others. Doberman also knew that he could not persuade Akainu, so he could only sigh, and then let Akainu go. Although he was on Akainu's side, he now has a special identity and cannot directly support Akainu. Akainu also knew his embarrassment. That's why I said such a thing. Akainu gathered his private army. Although he had just told Sengoku that he was not planning to act as Marine Admiral, he did not deny his identity as Marine. These private army are his people. Unless he rebels, there will be the power to command these people, and after these private soldiers heard about it, they all wanted to follow him without hesitation, which made him very touched. No one dared to stop the three warships. Akainu took his private army and prepared to set off, but at this moment, an unexpected person appeared. Ms. Zephyr. That's right, the person who came was really Zephyr, not just him. There were more than a dozen people next to him, all were Marine generals. The leader was Vice Admiral Kuzan, and the rest were Rear Admiral and Commodore. Why are you here? Zephyr led people to Akainu's side. He first looked at Akainu and snorted, and then said, this big thing has happened, don't I know? Sakazuki, you are really good at it, even the marshal. Dare to stand up. You took off the coat of justice. Are you going to leave Marine, or are you going to stand on your own? Akainu was immediately embarrassed. A burst of anger passed. He has gradually calmed down. Facing Zephyr's scolding, he really didn't know how to answer. He could only say, this matter is indeed my responsibility, but it must be done too. Zephyr snorted, I know what kind of personality you are, but the more you are in this situation, the more calm you will be. Sengoku has ordered that no one is allowed to support you, but I think your attitude is okay, so I will help you this time. What do you mean? Akainu was stunned, not understanding the meaning of Zephyr's words. Zephyr pointed to Kuzan and others beside him, and said, I can't help you in terms of military strength, but I also have a lot of disciples. This time, let Kuzan take someone to help you. After all, there are many beasts pirates masters, and you are alone. It's impossible to beat them because of the power of the world. You need more helpers. Let Kuzan help me. Akainu was really shocked. He didn't expect that at this juncture, the first person to help him turned out to be Zephyr. You must know that the relationship between the two of them is very complicated, even though the original things have gone through. The relationship has eased, but Zephyr chose to help him at this time, something he really didn't think about. Earlier, he knew that Sengoku had given an order and no one was allowed to help him, but he did not expect Zephyr to openly violate Sengoku's order and decided to help him, and also brought him a group of elite generals, especially Kuzan. They were opponents before. Don't refuse, because I don't just help you, I have deeper thoughts. Zephyr said, the four emperors of New World is too arrogant. If you let it go, it will only grow stronger. So you must do things well this time. If you can get rid of Kaido, it's best. If you can't let it go, you will also hit their arrogance fiercely, so that the New World pirates know that our naval headquarters is not that easy to provoke. Saying these words from the mouth of Zephyr don't kill, is enough to show his support for Akainu, which makes Akainu really grateful, and at the same time ashamed of what he has done in the past. Zephyr made this kind of retribution with virtue. Things are real Kunzi. At this moment, Akainu was really grateful to Zephyr, and at the same time he secretly vowed in his heart that he must change the ending of Zephyr in the future, and for nothing else, just because of his unhesitating support this time. Such a man should not suffer in his later years. That kind of ending. Ms. Zephyr, I won't say much about the rest. I promise that this time I will never let you down. Even without Zephyr's words, he is ready to fight Beast's pirates, not to mention Zephyr's support now. Zephyr snorted coldly, don't talk nonsense, kid, wait until you save the person back. Then he said to Kuzan and them, Kuzan, then you will follow Sakazuki and listen to his orders for the time being. Kuzan and others naturally nodded their heads. Set off. In fact, everything that happened here in Zephyr and Akainu was known to Sengoku, but he didn't stop it. Although he didn't want to help Akainu, he didn't really want Akainu to have an accident. After all, Akainu is now the facade of naval headquarters. If Akainu has an accident, for naval headquarters, it was definitely the heaviest blow, so he acquiesced to Zephyr's behavior. Because the Fishman Island Marine Branch base just had an accident, Akainu did not take the Ghost Spider with him this time, but went directly to the New World Marine G5 branch. I knew that you would definitely come. This time after Claude saw Akainu, he didn't have the same excitement and laughter as before, because he knew why Akainu came this time, and when he saw Akainu about to speak, Claude waved his hand. Don't be so anxious, talk about it after you enter the base. Akainu nodded. Knowing that he was not in a hurry, he took Kuzan and others into the base. Kuzan is also a Marine Admiral candidate now. Even if Akainu is a Marine Admiral, because the two are not in the same line, Akainu can't directly order Kuzan, so he handed over those people brought by Zephyr to Kuzan. At this time, only Akainu was left. Claude and Kuzan gathered together. Akainu asked eagerly, Claude, I want to know the specific situation. Claude said, I also learned about this later. Although I know everything now, let your own person tell you. With that said, 3 Marine soldiers were brought over, and Akainu recognized 2 of them at a glance. Both of them were soldiers in his private army. He arranged to protect Lasana with Lucas. They came to me not long ago, and they told me about it, and then I notified you, so they know the development of the matter best. Ask them what they want to ask, Claude said. Under Akainu's question, the 3 Marine soldiers said everything in one word. At the beginning, Lasana followed Akainu's orders to hunt down the pirates in the first half of the Grand Line. With her outstanding strength and fruiting ability, she caught many pirates. But after all, there are fewer pirates in the first half of the Grand Line, and their strength is relatively weak, and most of them ran as soon as they saw Marine, so Lasana had no feeling after hunting for a while, so she prepared to go to New World. Originally, Lucas, who was ordered by Akainu, did not agree to go to New World, but in the end he couldn't slam Lasana's request and entered New World. The pirates of New World are naturally not comparable to the pirates in the first half of the Grand Line. There is a lot of pressure here. Although she was under pressure in New World, Lasana's progress was also very fast. This is completely different from the first half of the Grand Line, because Lasana has wiped out many pirates one after another, even including several bounties of hundreds of millions, especially a pirate with a bounty of 280 million was defeated by her, which made her famous in New World. Lasana's strength has made her known as the Marine Supernova. Not only the pirate has a supernova, but also Marine. In fact, during this process, Akainu also paid attention to Lasana's situation at any time. After seeing her walking steadily in New World, he paid less attention, but what he didn't expect was that after this, it would happen. Such a thing. The reason Lasana and Beast's pirates clashed was because Lasana killed a capable person under Beast's pirates, which provoked the powerful pirate Jack, which was one of the later 3 plagues. Jack. The current Jack is not one of the later 3 plagues in today's Beast's pirates. In addition to the captain of the Beast Kaido, the most famous are naturally the Flame Plague and the Plague, Quinn. As for the 3rd plague, Jack, he is still just a little brother now, and he hasn't really become one of the 3 plagues, but recently Jack's reputation is getting bigger and bigger, and he is not far from becoming one of the 3 plagues. Drought, Jack is definitely one of the more powerful big pirates in the pirate world, especially his later bounty of 1 billion Baileys, which has occupied the highest bounty in anime for a long time. Don't look at him being abused several times in the plot, but he can actually reach 1 billion bounty, and he is one of the 3 disasters of Beast's pirates. You know that his strength is very strong. This time Lasana and the others encountered Jack and his after the capable men were crushed and defeated by them. Most of the Marine soldiers died under their men, and only a few escaped. Jack. Hearing this name, Akainu's killing intent skyrocketed. Thinking that Lasana might be caught by him, he couldn't stop the killing intent, and he wanted to cut him 1,000 times. At this time, Claude said immediately, Sakazuki, after this incident, I have been watching Jack's whereabouts, and it won't be long before I can find out his exact location. Akainu snorted coldly and said, now the base camp of Beast's pirates is in Wano-kuni. As long as you get to Wano-kuni, Beast's pirates will naturally be found. When Akainu was about to attack Wano-kuni, Claude suddenly said with a nervous face, Sakazuki, don't mess around, Wano-kuni is not as simple as you think. Even if you have to deal with Beast's pirates, you can't easily move Wano-kuni. What? Wano-kuni has a problem. He doesn't know much about Wano-kuni, because before he came here, Wano-kuna's plot hadn't fully unfolded, only that Wano-kuni was ruled by Kaido and Wano-kuna's generals, who jointly killed the former Kun master Kazuki Oden. In addition, he doesn't know much about Wano-kuni. If it's normal, he might still be scrupulous, but now, he can't think about that much. He just wants to save people as soon as possible, because no one can guarantee it. Beasts whether pirates would kill his subordinates and Lasana, he couldn't wait. Claude said solemnly, Sakazuki, Wano-kuni is very complicated. The warriors of this country are very powerful. Even the ships of the world government cannot enter this country. This country has been completely controlled by the General Kurozumi Orochi and 4 Emperors Kaido. The country is airtight, and outsiders cannot get in at all. Akainu also understands what he said. I know Wano Kuni is not easy, but even so, it can't stop me from saving people. Akainu said firmly. Claude said. I don't want to stop you, but think we should think of a perfect solution. The 4 Emperors Kaido is very powerful, and Kurozumi is helping him. Sakazuki, I know you are very strong, but facing the entire Wano Kuni with Kaido, we have no chance of winning at all. Naval Headquarters has Sengoku's order this time, so he won't intervene at all, so even if he adds the people of his G5 branch, it will only have 10,000 or 20,000 manpower, which is not enough to fight Wano Kuni, so he doesn't want Akainu to take risks. Akainu's face changed. Although he was very impatient, he knew that in the eyes of the situation, his subordinates were willing to follow him, but he had to take their lives seriously, and he could not treat everyone in order to save a few people. Are all in danger? Then what do you think? He is indeed not as good as Claude for the understanding of New World. Claude has been in New World for more than 10 years. He has long known all kinds of forces. Moreover, based on the relationship between the two of them, Claude will definitely be firm. Help him unwaveringly. Claude said, Sakazuki, things are not as complicated as you think. According to my information, Jack, the pirate, did not return to Wano Kuni after smashing your disciple's ship. In other words, even if he caught you. These people must be on his boat now. What you said is true. Akainu asked in surprise when he heard the words. Claude said. I'm pretty sure that this happened 8 days ago. Jack hasn't returned to Wano Kuni. He seems to be performing some task, but now he seems to be going back, so there is not much time left for us. Very well, you immediately tell me Jack's location. I want him to die without a place to bury him, Akainu said coldly. I don't know the exact location, but I still know the approximate location. Claude said. Sooner rather than later, you really have to act as soon as possible, otherwise it won't be so easy when he returns to Wano Kuni and wants to save people again, but I suggest you to act in a low-key manner. Your name it's not a small thing in New World. If it is a large-scale operation, it will definitely expose its deeds. It will be troublesome to be informed by Beast's pirates at that time. Akainu nodded and said, you are right. It doesn't take much effort to deal with a Jack. Just let Kuzan and I take a few people over. With that, he asked Kuzan next to him, Kuzan, your ability is very important in the sea, let you go with me, is it okay? Jack is not the 3 plagues yet. To deal with him, he doesn't need many people. Take Kuzan. It's just because Kuzan's ability is very effective and conceal the sea. Now he doesn't have the food to swim on the seabed with enchantment, so he still needs to be on the sea. Be cautious, but he knows that the pervert of the zone-capable person can survive for a long time after sinking to the bottom of the sea. Kuzan said, no problem. Akainu and Kuzan took people aboard one of the warships. Because this time they were only going to deal with Jack, they only took a few hundred people, but when they were about to leave, an unexpected person appeared. Zhuan Yuan, Rear Admiral. Why are you here? The person who appeared in front of Akainu was Zhuan Yuan, Rear Admiral, next to Suru, Vice Admiral. This woman had been in contact with him several times, so he had already affirmed the identity of this female officer. She should be the candidate of Marine Admiral Momosagi. It's just that this woman should not be with the Vice Admiral's side. How come to the G5 branch base? Sakazuki Admiral, I am here by order this time. Lasana is also a member of our women's barracks. Now that something happened to her, we naturally can't ignore it. My purpose here is the same as you, to save people. Zhuan Yuan replied. The appearance of Zhuan Yuan really surprised Akainu. This woman is one of the most powerful assistants to Vice Admiral's side. He didn't expect that Crane would send her over. But this moved him very much. First it was Zephyr, then Suru, Vice Admiral. Even if Sengoku gave an order not to let others support him, the two of them still sent someone to help him, and they also sent powerful subordinates. This kind of affection is really touching. Well, we just got ready to go, then you can come with us. There were not many people in Zhuan Yuan, but they were all elites, but Akainu kept them all in the G5 branch, taking Zhuan Yuan alone, and then set off with Kuzan and others. After the warship was launched, Akainu hid in the room alone and started his own system purchase and lottery. This time he said he was going to deal with Jack. Jack was nothing, but he had to guard against the beast's Kaido. After all, Kaido was a madman. He moved Jack. Who knows if Kaido will go mad? Regarding Kaido's madness, I have learned a few years ago, so I have to guard against it. Regarding the strength of Kaido, Akainu also learned from Garp before. His defensive ability is extremely strong. Even if Garp uses his full strength, he will only defeat him. There is no way to kill him. In terms of attack, Kaido is not bad. It may not be able to compare with the super destructive ability of Whitebeard Shock Fruit, but the single combat attack power is also very strong. Akainu never underestimated Kaido. After all, Kaido is known as the strongest creature in the sea, land and air. Maybe he hasn't reached the strongest state in more than 10 years, but he must not be underestimated. At least he is not confident yet. Able to defeat Kaido. Some time ago, he used a special execution method to increase his fear value and arrested and tortured a lot of pirates. So far, he has a lot of fear value. After several years of accumulation, he now has 112,753 fear points. Value. There are not many options for purchasing items in the store. Conqueror's Haki and Armament Haki have reached a certain level and do not need to be strengthened temporarily, so they can only choose to strengthen Observation Haki. As for the skill book, since he bought the 3 already in addition to the skills that appeared, no new skills have appeared for him to choose from. Akainu purchases the Fruit of Haki that is seen and heard again and again, and the scope of Observation Haki is continuously improved. Ding. The new product is on the shelves, please check it out. Suddenly Akainu received the system's prompt that there was a new product on the shelves, and he looked at the store with excitement. At this sight, he was stunned, because the store has changed again, and there is an extra line of goods, separated from the previous Haki fruits and skill books, and they are clearly distinct. This is. When Akainu saw the products in this column, his eyes widened and he was very surprised. Arms. That's right. This new list of products is about weapons, and 3 weapons appeared all at once, especially when he saw the names of these 3 weapons, it was even more shocking. Injetsu. Thunderfire. Ryujin Jaka. If Akainu is not familiar with the 2 names of Leihuo and Injetsu, then Ryujin Jaka is a weapon he is familiar with. This is not the Shinigami anime, the captain of Gote 13, Yamamoto Motoyanagisai Shigekuni. Zanpakuto. Ryujin Jaka, the strongest Zanpakuto in the hot system. Looking at the pattern of the weapon in the store, it was exactly the same as the Ryujin Jaka he had seen in the anime before. How so? Akainu is really shocked. This system is really weird. The 3 Haki fruits are special products of the pirate world. The 3 skill books that appeared later are related to the Hokage world, and there are 3 new weapons that appear now. It's actually the same as Zanpakuto in Shinigami. Although I don't understand what's going on, Akainu still watched these 3 weapons seriously. They were indeed Zanpakuto from Shinigami. I just don't know what will change after purchasing these 3 Zanpakuto. After all, he bought the 3 before. The skill book is different from the ninjutsu in the Hokage world. It seems to have undergone a systematic transformation, and is more suitable for him to use. I don't know if these 3 Zanpakuto will also be like this. Looking at the price, Injetsu and Thunderfire can be bought with 10,000 fear points, but Ryujin Jaka needs 50,000 fear points to be able to buy them. However, this price makes Akainu very puzzled. The power of Zanpakuto is beyond doubt. Even if it has been modified by the system, it is more suitable for the world, but it can't be bought with tens of thousands of fear points, right? This is cheaper than previous skill books. Of the 3 weapons, Akainu naturally preferred Ryujin Jaka. Although Ryujin Jaka is much more expensive than those 2, its power is definitely the strongest. With the best, he naturally looks down on the other 2. Seeing that he still has a fear value of about 70,000 points, Akainu just hesitated for a while, and then chose to buy it. The 50,000 fear points disappeared suddenly, and there was an extra katana in his backpack, but he had not had time to take the knife out for research, and found the problem. I saw another purchase option appeared under the Ryujin Jaka pattern. It was still the Ryujin Jaka pattern, but there seemed to be something extra on the knife, some resembling flames, and some resembling lava. But after seeing the price and name below, he understood that this product is not new, but the next stage of Ryujin Jaka, Shikai, whose price is a fear value of 500,000. Seeing this number, Akainu almost vomited blood. A fear value of 500,000. This is too much. After he got the system, so many years have passed, and all the fear points he got add up, I am afraid it will only be this. After counting, I didn't expect that just a Shikai would actually have 500,000 fear points. Ryujin Jaka is worth 50,000 fear points and Shikai is worth 500,000 fear points. Does the final Bankai need 5 million fear points? By analogy, this is indeed the answer, but Akainu is unacceptable. This is to force him to kill and set fire. 5 million fear points. Even if he does nothing all day long, it is just to torture people. I'm afraid it's hard to earn so much in a few years, right? Unless he specifically finds some timid people, maybe he will be faster. Although shocked in my heart, I turned my head to think, Ryujin Jaka is one of the most powerful Zanpakuto in Shinigami. At this price, it doesn't seem to be too expensive. I shook my head quickly. Who knows if Shikai and Bankai of Ryujin Jaka in the world of pirates are as powerful as the world of Shinigami? If they are not so powerful, wouldn't they be a big loss? System, you really gave me a problem. As expected, the impulse is the devil, so I bought it if I couldn't bear it. Because Ryujin Jaka's name is too strong, he just bought it without hesitation. Now that he sees the Shikai price behind, it is too late to regret it. And he also has a certainty in his heart. Since the system sells Ryujin Jaka Shikai as a commodity, it must be impossible for him to complete Shikai on his own. If he wants Shikai, he can only purchase it with fear. Because he spent 50,000 fear points to purchase the initial state of Ryujin Jaka, Akainu now only has 20,000 points of fear points left. He is not going to continue to exchange observation hockey fruits, but chooses to draw. Thank you for participation. Thank you for participation. The luck of the lottery this time was not so good. At the beginning, I didn't draw 8 consecutive times. It was not until the 9th time that I won a donut. If it was before, Akainu would have been very upset if he had drawn a donut, but now it is different. After he saw the donut drawn, he was very happy, because he has food, he can use it only after he draws the enchantment scroll. There are still a lot of fear points, so he continues to draw, drawing continuously. Congratulations on winning a loyalty card, which has been deposited in the backpack. Thank you for participation. Thank you for participation. Thank you for participation. Congratulations on winning a senbei, which has been deposited in the backpack. Congratulations on drawing a bursting charm, which has been deposited in the backpack. Congratulations on winning a donut, which has been deposited in the backpack. He has drawn more than 200 times in a row, which is the most one-time draw so far. Naturally, the harvest is much greater than before. 3 donuts, 4 senbei, 5 loyalty cards, 5 bursting charms, 3 double fear cards, 2 cleaning cards, and 5 enchanting scrolls. So all his current collections are 3 donuts, 4 senbei, 5 loyalty cards, 9 blasting charms, 7 double fear cards, 7 cleaning cards, and 5 enchanting scrolls. A total of 27 fears in the early 20,000s were drawn. The probability is not very high, but it's okay, especially when 5 enchanted scrolls were drawn. This is what Akainu wants to see most, but it's double fear. There are a lot of cards and cleaning cards, and he hasn't had a chance to use them up to now. After the fear value was used up, Akainu took a breath and was about to start using the enchanting scroll. Food. Senbei, enchanting. Attribute. Non-stop diarrhea. Duration. 1 day. Note. Only the first bite eaten is effective, and the rest has no attributes. After taking it, the diarrhea will not stop and it will take effect immediately. Food. Senbei, enchanted. Attribute. Swimming under the sea. Duration. 1 hour. Note. Only the first bite eaten is valid, and the rest has no attributes. Anyone who can't swim, including those with abilities, eat after going down. You can swim for the duration without any discomfort. Food. Senbei, enchanted. Attribute. Golden gun not falling. Duration. 1 hour. Note. Only the first bite eaten is valid, the rest has no attributes. Within 1 hour of serving, if there is no vent, weak for 3 days. Food. Donuts, enchant. Attributes. Swim under the sea. Duration. 1 hour. Note. Only the first bite eaten is valid, the rest has no attributes. Anyone who can't swim, including those with abilities, after eating, you can swim for the duration without any discomfort. Food. Donut, enchant. Attribute. Golden gun will not fall. Duration. 1 hour. Note. Only the first bite eaten is valid, the rest has no attributes. Within 1 hour of serving, if there is no vent, 3 days of weakness. All 5 enchanting scrolls were used up, and he got 5 enchanting foods in total. What satisfies him the most is 2 enchantments for swimming under the sea. This is the attribute he wants most. He used up his fear points for a few years. When he earned fear points before, he was not so urgent. Most of them did what he wanted. But after seeing the fear points that Ryujin Jaka's Shikai needs, let him feel it is under tremendous pressure. The power of the system no longer needs to be explained. Even weapons of the Ryujin Jaka level are coming out. It's not certain that there will be better products in the future. Therefore, the fear value is very important. Only enough fear value can be purchased. More and better products. During the operation, Akainu kept in touch with Claude because he needed Claude to provide him with information. In fact, although Claude has been in New World for so many years, in fact his intelligence ability can only be said to be average, but that was before. Since the last time he took away the treasure of Golden Lion, he immediately became rich. With money, other things are naturally easy to handle, so now his intelligence personnel have greatly increased, and his ability to gather intelligence has naturally also been greatly improved. But even so, it took him a long time to find Jack's specific location. Boss Jack. This time we have not only completed the task, eliminated the bastards who dared to disobey Master Kaido's orders, but also solved a lot of marine. After we go back, we will definitely be rewarded. On the pirate ship with the Beast's pirate's flag, a group of pirates gathered together and talked happily. These pirates are all around a very tall pirate. This pirate is tied with a ponytail and 2 braids, with metal jaws on his mouth, and 2 ivory-like pirates on his head and shoulders. Decorate. Ha ha ha. This person is one of the big pirates of Beast's pirates. Jack is the top figure in the middle platoon of Beast's pirates. The army of capable people under his command is also one of the most elite troops in the Beast's pirates. After going back this time, I will definitely reward you well. Boss Jack. Master Kaido values you so much. I wonder if there will be a chance to be the same as the boss of King this time? A pirate asked. Hearing this, Jack's eyes suddenly flashed with fascination. Don't look at him being so proud and arrogant in front of these people, but he also knew very well that he was far worse than the other 2 in the pirate group. Far away, he didn't want to be able to surpass those 2, he just hoped to stand behind them. Boss Jack, there is a marine warship behind us. At this moment, suddenly, a pirate in charge of Watchwind shouted loudly. Marine's warship. The pirates on the boat were all taken aback, and then they all showed excitement. Jack did the same. He said loudly, unexpectedly, first met Marine again, and even dared to rush over unconsciously. Haha, Boss Jack, let's go kill them. I'm going to kill Marine again. This time I have to kill a few more, you don't want to rob me. New World's Marines are really a bunch of rubbish, and the previous bunch of Marines are also rubbish groups. They dare to fight with our pirates. We are New World 4 Emperors, Beast's pirates. The pirates all yelled in excitement. Today's New World is the world of the 4 Emperors of the pirates. In their eyes, Marine is nothing but a group of courageous rats who abuse them as they wish. The warship that appeared behind Jack and them was naturally the warship led by Akainu. It took them 2 days to finally find Jack, and then catch up with them as quickly as possible. Sakazuki Admiral, ahead is the pirate ship of Beast's pirates. It should be our target, Jack the pirate. This Marine Commodore, who told Akainu, was from the G5 branch, and Claude sent him to lead the way. Akainu also saw the pirate ship, his face was full of murderous, and he shouted coldly, catch up, don't let anyone go. Yes, Sakazuki Admiral. Akainu's state naturally attracted the attention of other people, and they all knew how much Akainu took this time, and no one dared to be careless. Sakazuki Admiral, the other party found us and stopped there. It seems that they are going to wait for us to pass. Should they rush over and shoot, or what? The soldier in charge of the operation of the warship asked Akainu. Akainu waved his hand and said, don't attack, drive over, I will do it myself. He has been holding back for so many days. At this time, seeing the Lord appearing, nowhere can he bear it. If it weren't for the fact that he is still far away from him, he would have rushed to fight him. Boss Jack, Marine's warship has arrived. Jack shouted loudly. All are ready for me. Marine idiots dared to approach and attacked immediately. He was right, but unfortunately what he encountered this time was not the Marines he had encountered in the past. The warship quickly approached the pirate ship, and just as it was about to enter the range of the pirate ship's artillery attack, Akainu suddenly yelled, Kuzan. Kuzan did not hesitate. He jumped from the warship and landed on the surface of the sea. Then the sea surface was quickly frozen, forming a large area of ice. The warships and pirate ships were all in the icy area. Inside. Boss Jack, it's not good. The sea is frozen and our ship cannot move. The sea was frozen, and the pirate ship was naturally unable to travel. The pirates who were very happy at first showed panic. Jack looked at the figure on the ice and suddenly became alert. Is the ability of freezing, is it the frozen fruit ability of Marine? As Logia demon fruit power, it is also a new generation of generals cultivated by Marine. Although Kuzan's name is not as loud as Akainu and Kizaru, it is also more famous in the New World, so Jack recognized him. If it is really him, then it will be a problem. Although it was confirmed that it was Kuzan, Jack had a heavy heart, but he was not afraid. Even if it was Marine Vice Admiral Kuzan, he didn't think he would be worse than Kuzan. Little ones, all are ready to fight, Marine is about to attack. Kuzan had frozen the sea and was definitely preparing to disembark and attack them, so Jack asked his men to be ready as well, and fired artillery when Marine attacked. But what puzzled him was that Kuzan did not attack the sea immediately after the ice sealed the sea. He could only barely see a figure rushing out of the warship, moving quickly on the sea, and coming towards them. What a fast speed, fire the gun quickly. Seeing that only one person from Marine rushed over, Jack felt strange in his heart, but after seeing the speed of this person, he immediately let his men fire and attack. The person who rushed towards the pirate ship was naturally Akainu. He ordered no one else to move, and he attacked alone. Just let Sakazuki Admiral go alone, is that okay? Zhuan Yuan asked Jonathan on the side. Although she also knew the power of Marine Admiral Akainu, but the other party was also an elite of Beast's pirates, so Akainu rushed over by herself. She was still somewhat hesitant. After all, she had no real knowledge over the strength of Akainu. Jonathan smiled and said, Junyuan Rear Admiral, don't worry. Unless Kaido is the beast who comes in person, no one can stop Sakazuki Admiral, not even their so-called flame disaster. If the world has the most confidence in Akainu, it must be Akainu's private army. They have seen Akainu's power more than once, and they believe that no one can beat Akainu, even if Whitebeard comes. As for Beast's pirates, besides Kaido, which is one of the 4 emperors, it is known as the strongest fire disaster. Yamato is famous, but even so, in the eyes of Jonathan, the fire disaster is far from Akainu's opponent. After hearing this, Zhuan Yuan didn't speak anymore. Instead, she stared at Shu and looked ahead. She wanted to see how powerful this famous Marine Admiral Akainu was. Although Juin is a Marine Admiral candidate in the anime, she is still a junior compared to Akainu. Even if she is now trained by Crane, she is only a Rear Admiral. It is far from Akainu, so she is the best in the ocean. There is still no precise concept of its combat power. Boom, boom, boom. The Beast's pirates can fire fast enough, but unfortunately, they are facing Akainu. How could a mere cannonball hit Akainu who owns observation hockey? In just 10 seconds, Akainu has already come to them. In front of. Boom. With a loud noise, the entire pirate ship shook, and many pirates did not stand firmly and fell onto the ship. Who? A pirate suddenly exclaimed. When the others reacted, they discovered that there was an extra person on their pirate boat, a man in a red suit and a hat. This man was tall and had a cold face, staring at them coldly. Humph. Akainu snorted coldly, and the astonishing haki burst out from him. The pirates around him one after another, flipped Byakugan and fell down. In the blink of an eye, less than a third of the pirates on the pirate ship could still stand. 1. Conqueror's haki. After all, it was Beast's pirates, one of the 4 emperors of the pirates. After seeing this scene, several people immediately exclaimed. Marine Admiral, Akainu. Jack stepped forward with a booming step and called out Akainu's name solemnly. As his words sounded, the pirates still standing around were all shocked, and many people showed fear. Akainu, is he the Marine Admiral Akainu fighting Whitebeard? Isn't Marine Admiral supposed to be in the first half of the Grand Line? How could it appear here? Worse, it's Marine Admiral, can Boss Jack be able to stop it? Marine Admiral's deterrence is really very strong, not to mention the iron-blooded Admiral Akainu, who has always been known for his strength and strength. Even these pirates of Beast's pirates, after hearing his name, they are all in fear and panic. Endless. Akainu's gaze fell on Jack's body, and after a little thought, he knew who he was, and then said coldly, Are you the pirate Jack? I am. When he finished speaking, Jack's vigilance was the highest. He never expected that the person who appeared this time would be Akainu. Although he only saw Akainu for the first time, he is no stranger to Akainu. To be precise, few people in New World's pirates are unfamiliar with Akainu, because this man can compete with the strongest pirate Whitebeard. In the face of such a man, it would be a lie to say that there is no pressure. When he discovered Kuzan before, he still had confidence, but now seeing Akainu, his confidence disappeared in an instant. He is not arrogant enough to ignore Marine Admiral. Degree. Akainu said coldly, Since you know who I am, you must also know why I came. Jack's heart tightened and he couldn't help but remember what happened some time ago. He attacked a Marine warship. When slaughtering Marine soldiers, many people clamored that they were Akainu's subordinates, but he didn't care at the time. Akainu, what's more, he is from Beast's pirates, his boss is Kaido, not to mention this is New World, he doesn't need to be afraid of Akainu. But he didn't think about it. How long has passed since then? Akainu actually came to him. Are you trying to avenge your people? Akainu's eyes flashed, and he shouted, That's right. Roar. Jack didn't say anything, he roared directly, and then his body changed tremendously. In just a few seconds, he changed from a human form to a very huge mammoth. What about Marine Admiral? Watch me knock you over. When Jack became a mammoth, his huge body suddenly crushed the pirate ship, but he didn't care at all. After transforming, he ran into Akainu directly. Originally, his body was about the same height as Akainu, but after he became a mammoth, his size increased several times. Akainu was in front of the mammoth like a child standing in front of an adult. Boss Jack is going crazy, run away. The remaining pirates saw Jack using the fruit ability without saying a word, all exclaimed and jumped from the pirate ship in horror to avoid the battle between Jack and Akainu. Akainu looked at the mammoth that hit it, and snorted coldly, How can the light of the firefly compete with the sun and the moon? Great eruption. The huge lava fist hit the mammoth head-on. Even though the mammoth had a strong impact, it was still hit by Akainu's explosive punch and fell from the pirate ship to the ice not far away. Boom. I have to say that Kuzan's frozen fruit ability is really powerful. After Jack turned into a mammoth, his volume has expanded several times. With such a heavy weight on the ice, he didn't even break the ice, but only appeared one after another cracks. Zone Demon Fruit Power is famous for its rough skin and thick flesh. What's more, Jack is a mammoth fruit from the ancient species of Zone. Although he was hit by Akainu's great eruption head-on, he was not seriously injured. Stand up. It hurts me so much. Although there was no serious injury, Jack still let out a howl of pain, because Akainu's attack was not only full of power, but also the burning power of magma. Even if his skin was thick and thick, he was still suffering from being beaten. Da. Akainu walked up to Jack again. Jack, who was in mammoth form, saw Akainu and his heart trembled, but then he roared in anger and was knocked off by one move. This was a shame for him. Roar. Jack, who doesn't believe in evil, rushed to Akainu again, but he was greeted by another giant fist of lava, and he was beaten into the air again. I have to kill you. Every time he was defeated, Jack did not give up and continued to attack Akainu, but the result was obvious. Every time he was beaten by Akainu, he was embarrassed. Boss Jack is not an opponent of Marine Admiral Akainu at all. The surrounding pirates also discovered Jack's tragic situation and were completely crushed by Akainu. While frightened, they all gathered and attacked Akainu. Jack's men have more than a dozen Zone Demon Fruit powers, and they join forces to attack, and the momentum is really not small. Boom 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 boom. But it's a pity that they are facing men standing on the top of the sea. Without exception, they are all smashed by Akainu. They don't have the physique of Jack. Except for those with Zone ability, they can resist a little bit. Most of the pirates were bombarded into charcoal by Akainu's punch. Another wave of fear value increased. Dozens of pirates provided him with a lot of fear value, but Akainu did not care about this at this time, but walked towards Jack. Jack withstood a dozen punches from Akainu. No matter how strong he was beaten miserably at this time. The mammoth's form could not be maintained, and he recovered his body, looking at Akainu with horror on his face. Fear value from Jack the Pirate. Plus 451. How could the gap be so big? It's impossible. While frightened, Jack let out an unwilling roar in his heart. He knew that Akainu was very strong, but he was not weak. Why was he beaten with no strength to fight back when facing Akainu, and he was beaten violently with one punch, and one punch hit all his confidence. Escape? This thought flashed through in his mind, and it suddenly made Jack even more frightened. He was beaten and thought of running away. Although furious, his eyes couldn't help but lose sight, and he glanced around, instinctively wanting to see where he could escape. If you want to escape, I advise you better not to do that, because you can't escape anywhere. Akainu seemed to penetrate Jack's psychology, and when Jack thought about running away, he immediately warned. Jack's face changed. It was just a flash of thought that Akainu could see through, which made his fear of Akainu even worse. Fear value from Jack the Pirate. Plus 273. At this time, Kuzan and other marines had already arrived, captured all the other pirates, and surrounded Jack in the center. Sakazuki Admiral did not find Lucas and others. Jonathan came to Akainu to report. After listening, Akainu was furious, and rushed towards Jack suddenly. Scared Jack kept backing away, but how could he escape Akainu's attack? Dark Hound. With a blow full of anger, Akainu didn't care about Jack's life or death at all, punched directly through Jack's body, and sprayed magma dozens of meters away. Puff. Jack, who was already miserable, was struck by Akainu's punch, and his whole body was suddenly depressed. Fear value from Jack the Pirate. Plus 587. Akainu stepped on Jack's body and said coldly, I don't want to hear a nonsense, let me ask, you say. Stop dreaming. I won't say anything, Jack roared. Akainu said coldly, really? As he said, his foot on Jack turned into magma. The hot magma was burning Jack's skin, causing Jack to scream miserably. It was just over 10 seconds. There was a footprint-like imprint on his body, and even a weird smell like barbecue. You have attacked a warship before. I want to know where the people on it are. What happened to you? Akainu asked. Jack was full of pain, but instead of contributing his fear this time, he shouted, I killed all of them. What? With another scream, Akainu said coldly, you better tell me the truth, otherwise you will feel better. Jack endured the pain and shouted again, they were all killed by me. If you have the ability, you kill me. He had already seen that Akainu didn't let him off, so he made up his mind and said nothing. Even if he died, he wouldn't let Akainu succeed. Akainu naturally saw what Jack was thinking, but he just sneered and stepped on his head with one foot. The magma burned his face and made a squeaky sound. Everyone around was looking at his brows. At the same time, he took out a double fear card from his backpack and used it after selecting Jack. Jack's screams kept ringing, and the intense pain made him feel the urge to commit suicide, but he couldn't move at all. At this moment, he really hates his ability. Why is his vitality so strong? If he eats devil fruit, he is dead now, and he doesn't need to suffer this kind of torture anymore. Fear value from Jack the Pirate. Plus 654. In fact, although Jack has not yet become one of the 3 plagues, he is also a big pirate. His psychological endurance should not have been so bad, but he was helplessly abused by Akainu before, and he was crushed and lost confidence. In addition, Akainu completely ignored him. He abused him life and death. No matter how tough he was, he couldn't help his fear. Say or not. Don't tell me. Only Jack's screams are left on the sea. Don't look at his spine-like behavior, and he always refuses to say it. However, the constant fear value makes Akainu know that his psychology has completely collapsed, and now he can only rely on it. Supported by a belief. Within a few minutes, the skin on Jack's body was mostly blurred, and the people watching were frightened, but the vitality of Zone Demon Fruit power is really amazing. Even so, Jack is not dead yet, but it has been lost. Conscious, unconscious. This is how many times Jack has been in a coma. Akainu gave a cold snort and gave up his plan to wake him up. He tortured Jack not only for what he wanted to know, but also for venting. You don't tell me, some people want to tell me. In addition to Jack, there are many beasts pirates here. What he wants to know, he will know that not everyone is as hard-talking as Jack. Bring me all the other pirates who are still alive. The pirates who were stunned by his conquerors before have been captured by Marine. They have not yet woken up. The rest of the pirates, in addition to the ones he just killed, there are 7 or 8 capable people still alive, one by one. It was drawn to Akainu. Do you know why I asked you to come here? Looking at the 8 pirates in front of him, Akainu's tone was still so cold. Fear score from Bright Krillins. Plus 547. As soon as Akainu finished speaking, one of the pirates could not help but fell to the ground with a face full of fear. He glanced at the bloody Jack behind Akainu and exclaimed excitedly. I said, you want to know what? I said all. Fear seems to be contagious. Those pirates who were not so scared just now, after the pirates spoke, all showed fear, and they all saw Jack's tragic situation. From. I also said, please don't torture me. I also said, I say everything. The 4 pirates yelled excitedly. Although the other 4 did not speak, they were all full of fear. Not all pirates have spine. They are far behind Jack, so in Akainu's strength down, nowhere can I resist it. All 8 people contributed fear points to him, and in the blink of an eye he gained more than 3,000 points of fear points. These pirates who had completely collapsed naturally had no secrets. Soon Akainu knew everything he wanted to know. When Akainu beat Jack just now, he kept watching his Zhuanyuan, his eyes flickered, and his heart exclaimed. Is this the power of Sakazuki Admiral? It's really scary. That Jack is also a pirate with a bounty of hundreds of millions. Was beaten by him from start to finish. Ordinary women may be disgusted with Akainu's harsh methods just now, but Zhuanyuan is not an ordinary woman. She can be valued by Vice Admiral not only because of her outstanding talents, but also her psychological qualities. She is strong in her own right. Because she worships the strong, especially the overbearing and invincible man like Akainu, it makes her heart stirring. Looking at Kuzan on the other side, he was already used to Akainu's coldness, so he didn't have any surprises about what Akainu did. He just hid aside and rested. It turns out that not long ago, Lasana, who was catching the pirate in New World, accidentally ran into Jack, who came out on the mission. What would happen to Marine and the pirate when they met? Naturally it was self-evident. The 2 sides fought immediately. Stand up. Although Akainu sent Lucas and other soldiers to protect Lasana, and Lasana's own strength is not bad, Beast's pirates is stronger, especially Jack. Lucas and others did not fight together. It's Jack. Lasana relied on the ability of Snowfruit to fight you and me with Jack. However, because Jack had initially contacted Armament Hockey, the ability of Snowfruit could not be fully utilized. For this reason, the physical development is not perfect, and he has not started to learn Armament Hockey formally. Without Armament Hockey, Snowfruit's abilities would not be able to exert its full power, so as long as Jack was facing him, the disadvantages came out. If only Jack is alone, it's fine, but they still have a lot of capable people on their boats, so Lucas and the others are naturally lost. Don't look at these capable people being beaten like dogs in front of Akainu, but for the soldiers, even the school-level officers, the zone ability is very difficult, and it is not surprising that they are defeated. According to these pirates, Akainu frowned slightly. According to the situation at the time, if fighting at sea, Lasana actually had a chance to escape. After all, her Snowfruit ability is similar to Kuzan's frozen fruit. It can make ice on the sea. Although it is not as strong as frozen fruit, it should be no problem for a person to walk. But Lasana didn't do that in the end, but wanted to save other people and fight Jack. The result was naturally exhausted and was arrested by Jack. Oh, my heart is still too soft, Lasana. Out of distress for Lasana, Akainu actually hoped that she could leave at that time, but Lasana's decision was not a problem. Although it was not the wisest choice, her behavior was even more gratifying. This is a choice that a leader should make. Even if the final result is a failure, if she really ran away by herself at the time, I am afraid Lasana would have a shadow in the future. This is why Akainu feels complicated, he is both distressed and gratified. However, Akainu was a little relieved that although Lasana and the others were caught, most of the marine soldiers were also killed by the pirates, but a few people such as Lasana and Lucas were not killed. He was caught, but now he was not on the pirate ship, but was sent to Wano-kuni, the base camp of Beast's pirates. I still have to go to Wano-kuni. I thought that if I caught Jack, I would be able to save people, but I didn't expect to return to the original point in the end. If I want to save people, I still have to go to Wano-kuni, the base camp of Beast's pirates. Lasana, Lucas, hope you are all safe. Lasana is his disciple. Like his biological daughter, Lucas is his personal captain and one of his most trusted subordinates, so he doesn't want either of them to have an accident. He must use the fastest one, speed, to rescue them. The ice surface was burned with magma, all the pirates alive were captured, and then Akainu returned to the G5 branch. Going to Wano-kuni is not the same as capturing Jack. You can't just go as you say. You must have sufficient preparation. After all, for this action, he doesn't have the entire naval headquarters behind to support him. He can only rely on so many people under him. If these people are able to deal with ordinary pirates, they may be very powerful, but it is impossible to deal with the Four Emperors pirate group and the Wano-kuni force without knowing the depth. Therefore, without sufficient preparation, not only can they not save people, but on the contrary, it may also harm them. G5 branch base, in the discussion hall. If there is really no other way, I can only force it. Claude said helplessly. In fact, he didn't want Akainu to do this the last thing, but he also knew Akainu, and it was impossible for Akainu to give up. Kuzan said indifferently, aren't we still with them in our hands? We can negotiate with them and exchange hostages with each other. Claude immediately shook his head and said, this is impossible. Pirates don't follow the rules like us. Beast's pirates is the most advocating force. For them, failure is equal to death. It is impossible to trade those people. Kuzan just mentioned his own opinion, and after hearing Claude's words, he stopped talking. Although Zhuan Yuan was only rear admiral, she was sent by Vice Admiral Crane. Crane's position in Marine was not weaker than Marine Admiral, so when the three of them were discussing matters, she was brought with her. Is there a way for us to sneak in and save people? Claude still shook his head and said, Wano-kuni is a kingdom that is closed to the outside world. It is basically closed to the outside world. Only a few people and ships can enter it, and it is subject to various investigations, and wants to sneak in without knowing it. Wano-kuni is not easy. Even if it is possible to sneak into Wano-kuni, it is even more difficult to rescue people from the base of Beast's pirates. The three discussed for a long time and found that Akainu had been closing his eyes and not talking. Claude couldn't help but ask, Sakazuki, what do you think? Why haven't you said a word until now? Claude's yelling made Kuzan and Zhuanyuan react. They discussed here for a long time. As the protagonist, Akainu hasn't said a word until now. This is not like Akainu's character. Akainu opened his eyes, glanced around the three of them, and said, I listen to what you say. After listening to you for so long, I already have a plan in my mind. Do you have a method? What method? Claude asked all three in surprise. Akainu said, it's what Rear Admiral said, sneak into Wano-kuni to save people. This method had been rejected by Claude before, and now Akainu said it again, which surprised the three of them. Sakazuki, this method really doesn't work. Wano-kuni is not easy. I told you already. It may be possible to sneak into it, but if you want to save people, it's impossible. Claude retorted immediately. Akainu said, the normal method will definitely not work, but with my method, it must work. This time I will go alone. What? Hearing Akainu's words, Claude, Kuzan and Zhuanyuan were all shocked. Claude exclaimed, Sakazuki, what are you talking about? Do you go alone? How do you go? Kuzan also shook his head and said, it's too dangerous to be alone, it's not a good choice. Zhuanyuan agreed. I don't think it's okay. Wano-kuni is so complicated. If you go in alone, Sakazuki Admiral, it's too risky. Seeing that Akainu did not speak, Claude once again persuaded, Sakazuki, Wano-kuni is different from ordinary kingdoms. In other countries, your Marine Admiral identity will bring you a lot of convenience, but in Wano-kuni, that is the country of samurai. It's a territory controlled by Kaido. No one cares about your identity at all. Once they find you, they can't even escape with your own strength. He is telling the truth. Akainu is indeed very strong, but no matter how strong he is also a human being. In the face of Beast's pirates, his power alone is far from enough. Going to Wano Kuni alone is no different from looking for death. But Akainu said calmly, I have a perfect countermeasure, and there will never be any problems. The three of Claude naturally didn't believe it, and asked, then you tell me to have a look. Akainu said, the relationship is very complicated, I can't explain it, but don't worry, I still have some confidence. If I'm not sure, I won't risk messing around. No, it's still too risky, I don't agree. Claude immediately shook his head and vetoed it, as did Kuzan and Zhuan Yuan. Seeing that the three of them disagreed, Akainu hesitated for a while, and then said, since we can't reach an agreement, let's think of other ways. After discussing for a long time, the four people didn't come up with an effective and feasible method, so they went back to rest. But on the second day, when Claude and the others gathered together again, they were surprised to find that Akainu had disappeared. Then they immediately went to find Akainu, but they were told that Akainu had left in the early hours of the morning. At the same time, also brought Jack from Beast's pirates. It's just nonsense. Claude yelled angrily. Things have already developed like this. He doesn't know Akainu's plan yet. Obviously, Akainu is still planning to implement the method mentioned yesterday, just to prevent them from stopping him, so he just didn't tell. No, there is no way to make them angry. He asked his men, but no one knew where Akainu went. He only knew that he brought only one warship, and there were only a few people. The rest, such as Kuzan, Zhuanyuan, and even Akainu's private army, most of them stayed. It seems that he is really preparing to go to Wano Kuni alone, and he must be stopped before he enters Wano Kuni. By doing this, Akainu shows that he has made up his mind, so if he wants to stop him, he can only choose to stop him on the way of Wano Kuni, because he must have gone to Wano Kuni. No matter how angry Claude and the others are, Akainu has already arrived on an island in a warship. Sakazuki, have you really decided? This is not a joke, you will be life-threatening. Jonathan was the one brought out by Akainu this time, but even he was not optimistic about Akainu's actions this time, because Akainu didn't tell him exactly what he planned to do. Akainu patted Jonathan on the shoulder and said, don't worry, I won't do it if I'm not sure enough. Yes. Jonathan wanted to speak, but Akainu said solemnly, all right, don't say anything, as a soldier, you must obey orders. In fact, this statement came out of his mouth, which is not convincing, because this time he violated Sengoku's order and brought someone to New World alone, but Jonathan is not as haughty as Akainu, so naturally he will not violate the order. You take someone here and wait for me. After I come back, we will return to the G5 branch base. After telling Jonathan again, he went to the city on this island alone. This is a country closer to Wano Kuni, but there is still some distance away, because he knows that Claude and others will definitely look for him, so he didn't get too close to Wano Kuni. Watching Akainu leave, Jonathan couldn't help sighing. He really has no ability to stop Akainu, so he can only hope that Akainu can rescue people safely. The reason why Akainu stopped here was not just to hide his traces, but also because he had his own purpose here. Akainu stopped in a place in the city, as if waiting for something. After a short time, his expression suddenly changed, and suddenly a door was opened in the void in front of him, and then a person came out of it. You are here, Akainu said lightly when he saw the visitor. It's a bit late, so Sakazuki Admiral has been waiting for a long time. The person here is amazingly Hayward, who was sent out by Akainu. Akainu didn't care, but said, your actions have been good recently. After a while, our plan will be able to unfold. Hayward smiled and said, it depends on the fruits and information you gave me, Sakazuki Admiral, otherwise I can't be so fast. Akainu nodded. Hayward was the weapon he sent to sneak into the pirate forces. He placed great expectations on Hayward, and Hayward did not live up to his expectations. Since getting the fruits of the door, he immediately opened the door. The situation. Hayward first made his name in the first half of the Grand Line. It took just a few months to become the most famous pirate supernova at the time. With the secret help of Akainu, it was naturally in the first half of the Grand Line. No disadvantages. A few months later, he entered the New World. In New World, the first half of the Grand Line was naturally not as smooth as the first half of the Grand Line. However, because he was good enough, coupled with the fruiting ability, he also made several major events. There are several pirate groups in his hands. Although he is still inferior to a character like Hawkeye, his bounty has now reached 180 million Baileys. This is because he has not done much to harm the world. Otherwise, the bounty will definitely be improved a lot. However, although he is not small now, he has not formed his own pirate group and has always been alone, so he is not too famous among the pirate forces of New World. In the eyes of many people, it's just an excellent supernova, and it's still a long way from becoming Shichibukai. This time Akainu summoned him for nothing else, because of the power of Hayward's door fruit. He wanted to sneak into Wano Kuni and accurately find the base camp of Beast's pirates. It was impossible to do it with his own power. Yes, and Hayward's door fruit can help him. Hayward, this time I'm looking for you, not because I have a task to entrust you, but because I have an important thing for your help. Akainu's words made Hayward stunned. Akainu asked him to help. He never thought about this situation. When Akainu called him before, he thought he had a task for him to do, but he didn't expect Akainu to ask him. Helpful. Akainu explained. It's like this. After hearing all this, Hayward asked. You mean, let me use my ability to sneak into Wano Kuni? Akainu nodded and said, well, is there a problem? Hayward said. Sakazuki Admiral, if I can help, I will certainly not shirk it, but this is not so easy. There is a problem. You may not know that the ability of the door fruit is indeed very strong, but it also has certain restrictions. Akainu raised her brows and asked, speak clearly. Hayward explained. The fruit of the door can indeed make people move in space, but it is actually limited. Under normal circumstances, even if you enter a different space, it will move at a normal speed instead of moving to the destination in an instant. Ground. Although it is also possible to move instantaneously, but it is also very limited. It can only be used for short-distance space jumps, and it is not free to use. It is good to be able to use it once in a short time. Hearing Hayward's explanation, Akainu suddenly became surprised. His understanding of Menmenguo was limited to the descriptions in the comics, but in the comics, Menmenguo was only a small supporting role, so he met Menmenguo. The development of is relatively limited. According to Hayward, the gate fruit obviously failed to meet his expectations and helped him to sneak into Wano Kuni smoothly. How far can you be in a space jump now? Akainu asked. Hayward replied. The limit distance is 1 kilometer, but if you move in a different space, it can reach 5 kilometers, but the speed can only be the speed that I usually move. I feel that this is not the limit of the fruit of the door, but the limit I am currently developing is like this. Akainu's eyes lit up. Although the ability of the door fruit did not achieve the desired effect, it was obviously effective. The 5-kilometer space movement would certainly not be noticed, but the critical moment can play a decisive role. In just an instant, Akainu made a decision. He asked Hayward. This time, there are only 2 of you, me and you. Do you dare to take risks with me and go to Wano Kuni? If you disagree, I won't blame it. You, after all, your role is very big, you can't expose yourself just because of my personal affairs. In fact, Akainu himself is also very embarrassed. He spent so much energy training Hayward, hoping that he can play a role in helping Marine at a critical time, but now Hayward wants him to do this. This thing it was his personal affair, not in line with the original strategy of sending Hayward. But Hayward didn't think much about it, and directly agreed, I am willing. He sees very clearly to himself that the reason why he is able to have his current status is only part of his own efforts, and a larger part comes from the cultivation of Akainu. Without Akainu, he would definitely not reach the current height. What's more, he also saw Akainu's determination. This time is his best opportunity to show his loyalty. If he can help Akainu save people, he will definitely become one of Akainu's biggest henchmen. This has always been his goal. After all, his current identity is an undercover agent, and sooner or later he will be exposed. If he can't become Akainu's confidant, after his identity is exposed in the future, even if he can return to naval headquarters, he will definitely be excluded, so he must hold Akainu's thighs tightly. Although the action this time is risky, it may not be without the possibility of success, and Akainu also told him that he would abandon the plan when it was a last resort. Very good. Akainu was relieved that there was no leader who didn't like to be obedient. Hayward was so loyal to him, and he would naturally have a good return in the future. Without delay, we will act immediately. As for the general situation of Wano Kuni, Akainu has learned from Claude, and he still has a map in his hand. Now they have only 2 of them, and they also have Hayward's ability to enter Wano Kuni. The problem of sneaking into Wano Kuni is not too big. The question is how to go to the base of Beast's pirates to rescue people, which he has already prepared. After the 2 discussed the countermeasures, they immediately started the action. Wano Kuni is a kingdom that is closed and closed. The access of ships is greatly restricted. Only a very small number of merchant ships can enter Wano Kuni, so Akainu focused on these possibilities. Enter the merchant ship of Wano Kuni. 3 days passed in a blink of an eye. In the G5 branch base, Claude, Kuzan and others waited helplessly. They searched for a few days but did not find Akainu's whereabouts. They knew that Akainu could not be stopped, but they could not lead the army to Wano Kuni. So I can only stay in the base and wait. Sakazuki, don't mess around. Claude is quite familiar with Akainu's character. He is afraid that Beast's pirates will give Lasana and the others. If that is the case, Akainu shouldn't go crazy yet. At that time, Akainu will be in danger. And the Akainu, whom Claude was worried about, was already hiding with Hayward on the merchant ship heading to Wano Kuni. Because of Hayward's ability, they easily boarded the ship. When the time comes, they only need to enter Wano Kuni. Ward can use the power again, and they will be able to enter Wano Kuni. This process did not wait long. On the 5th day, the two of them finally entered Wano Kuni as they wished. Sakazuki Admiral, I use my ability to gather intelligence. Hayward soon brought a Wano Kuni warrior, and then they asked where they were. As for this warrior, in order not to reveal his whereabouts, it was naturally solved. Akainu said to Hayward, according to the confession of the Pirates of Beasts Pirates, I know the approximate location of Beasts Pirates base camp and the most likely place to hold the prisoners. If Lasana and Lucas are fine, they must be locked there. All we have to do is to sneak in there and use your abilities to rescue them. Before, he caught a lot of pirates from Jack and Beasts Pirates, because he moved very fast. So far there is no news, so Beasts Pirates probably doesn't know yet. As for the base camp of Beasts Pirates, relying on the willpower of those pirates, how could he be able to withstand his torture? In order to obtain information, he tortured overnight. At this time, this information played the most critical role. As long as you can find a specific location, you can use Hayward's ability to escape. As for the battle with Beasts Pirates, this is something that Akainu has never thought about. They are two people now. If they go to war with Beasts Pirates, it is no different from looking for death. Hayward said, as long as they can be found, they will be rescued. Akainu considers more than this. He said, to save you must be saved, but the premise is that if you are not exposed this time, you will not be a pirate in the future, so if you are not a last resort, you cannot expose. I understand. Hayward replied solemnly. He also knew his role and must not be exposed. Akainu's strength is super strong, coupled with Shanghai Ward's ability. Ordinary people can't find them at all. Even if they occasionally find them, they will be cleaned up one by one, so they quickly found the base camp of Beasts Pirates. The place where Beasts Pirates held the prisoners was a distance from the base camp, which made it easier for Akainu and the others to move. The two sneaked into the mountain gorge where the prisoners were held. This is a mountain range on land. Beasts Pirates hollowed out the mountain and placed the prison in the mountain. In fact, this is not only a prison, but also an important test site for Beasts Pirates, so the guards are also quite strict. In a prison in the mountain, Lucas was lying in it, staring blankly at the stone above. His whole body was scarred. Bloodline Madara, the marine soldier who was arrested with him, was already dead. He was left alone, and everyone else died. Either he committed suicide or was tortured to death. He was the only one who persisted until now. He didn't want to die, couldn't die, nor reconciled, because he hadn't confirmed whether Lasana was still alive. That was the task given to him by Akainu. If he couldn't be sure, he wouldn't be willing to die. He is able to survive until now because of this willpower. It is also because Beasts Pirates wants to know Naval Headquarters intelligence, because he is the captain of Marine Admiral. For Beasts Pirates and Kaido, his importance is it's different. Following Admiral Akainu, who is second only to Marshal Sengoku in Marine, Lucas must know a lot of useful information. They want to get this from him, so he can live to this day. He can't remember how many times he has been tortured. He couldn't find a few intact skins all over his body, but he didn't care at all. There is hope for living. He always remembered what Akainu said to him. He didn't know if there was a miracle, but he knew that there is a miracle only when you live, and when you die, there is nothing. Will there be a miracle? The reason why a miracle is called a miracle is because it cannot be controlled, but Lucas still hopes that there will be a miracle. Just as he was about to close his eyes, his pupils suddenly widened, as if he had seen something incredible. On the top of the rock wall in his cell, a door suddenly appeared, as if being opened from the inside. The phone worm on the corner that was monitoring him was cut off in an instant. But the door on the rock wall appeared strange, and what disappeared was strange. After the phone worm under surveillance was cut off, the door was closed. He saw nothing except one arm. When he was confused, a very low voice suddenly came from his ear. Lucas. When he turned his eyes, he was shocked to discover that on the rock wall behind him, there was another portal that was exactly the same as before, and he saw a figure appear. After calling his name, he immediately pulled him into the portal. The next moment, Lucas found himself in a strange space. This space was green. A person was moving in this space with his back on his back. He opened his mouth with difficulty. Are you? You are very injured. Don't say anything. I am the person sent by Sakazuki Admiral to save you. I will take you to see Sakazuki Admiral now. The person carrying him quickly answered the doubts in his heart. Sakazuki Admiral, miracle, did it really happen? There was a bright light in Lucas's eyes, and the whole person became very excited. At this moment, he didn't feel the sharp pain in his body, but felt extremely happy and excited. He didn't doubt the words of this mysterious person. If the other party could say the name Sakazuki, It means that he must be a subordinate of Sakazuki Admiral. The risk came here to rescue him. Hayward was able to find Lucas's cell because he and Akainu had just caught several escort pirates who were guarding here, and learned about Lucas's condition from their mouths, so they could find it accurately. Lucas. But now is not the time to explain this. He needs to rendezvous with Akainu immediately, because the others in Beast's Pirates will soon find that several guards have disappeared, and they won't have so much time to save people. Lucas also found that the man who had saved him didn't mean to explain, so he was wise not to speak. After walking for a few minutes, Lucas saw that the person who had saved him opened a door out of thin air, and then they walked out. The moment he went out, he saw the familiarity hidden in the shadows at a glance. Silhouette. Sakazuki Admiral. Although very excited, Lucas restrained his voice. But Akainu did not have so much time to talk to him at this time. For them, time is the most important thing. He saw the way Lucas looked, and his eyes flashed with anger, and he asked, "Lucas, Lee, where is Shanna?" He had just caught a few pirate guards and knew the whereabouts of Lucas, but he hadn't heard from Lasana at all. He was very anxious, so after seeing Lucas, he immediately asked questions. Lucas didn't talk nonsense, and replied, "Miss Lasana was not caught in. She escaped midway to here. I don't know where she is now, but she certainly didn't fall into the hands of Beast's pirates." The nervous Akainu was suddenly excited. He had just thought of many possibilities. He even thought about Lasana's accident. If Lasana really had an accident, he would have to eradicate Beast's pirates, but he never did. It occurred to me that this answer was actually obtained from Lucas's mouth. The sirens suddenly sounded, and then the entire canyon was filled with sirens, and the three Akainu's complexions changed suddenly. Akainu didn't have time to ask more, and directly told Hayward, "Hayward, take Lucas away immediately. I will stay to cover you, hurry." But Hayward's expression changed. Akainu shouted, "Follow the order, hurry. Only if you are gone, I will have the chance to leave, otherwise none of us will be able to leave. There are dozens of kilometers in the area of Beast's Pirates, but the limit of the door fruit is only 5 kilometers. Then you have to come out of a different space and wait for a while before you can re-enter it. This period of time is enough for Beast's Pirates. When the pirates found them, it would be even more difficult for them to leave all. So the best option is to let Hayward take the injured Lucas to leave first. He stays to cover. He is very confident of his identity. As long as he appears, Beast's Pirates will definitely focus on him. When the time comes, Hayward and the others will be able to leave easily. As for him, unless Kaido is here in person, it will not be easy to keep him. What's more, he has already figured out the surrounding terrain. Even if he is driven to a desperate situation, he has another way to leave." Hayward hesitated for a moment, and finally decided to believe in Akainu. He took Lucas and hid in the strange space opened by the fruit of the door, and then quickly closed the door, disappearing without knowing it. Then now, let me make a fuss. Before entering Wano-kuni, Akainu had already thought out all the countermeasures. Before, he was scrupulous about Lasana and Lucas, so his actions would be somewhat restrained, but now it has been determined. Apart from Lucas, there is no. At the same time Lasana escaped from the other soldiers, he had no scruples now. "Before I leave, I must teach you a lesson so that everyone in the world knows that I, Akainu, can't move everyone." The anger accumulated for so many days will not disappear just because Lucas is rescued, but will become stronger. If he can't vent it today, he doesn't know what he will do next. Observation Haki is fully opened. His current observation Haki has reached more than 200 meters, so the movement within more than 200 meters can't be hidden from him. He can feel that there are countless people gathering here. Just in time, it's time for a big fight. Akainu's face is cold. He now needs to attract firepower, attract everyone to himself, and create opportunities for Hayward and the others to escape, so the more he makes noise, the more convenient for Hayward and the others. Wagwoshin. His hands turned into magma and pressed on the ground. Suddenly, the magma was released quickly along his hands and spread, reaching a range of tens of meters. Magma. Where does magma come from? How can there be magma? After the magma made by Akainu appeared, there was a sound of exclamation around them. These were pirates closer to Akainu, but when they were still wondering, the magma on the ground had formed a sea of magma, and it quickly erupted. Like a volcanic eruption, there was an astonishing sound of explosions. Magma soared into the sky, forming pillars of magma eruption, and numerous magma volcanic bombs appeared, smashing on the surrounding rock walls. The explosion sounded constantly. With Akainu as the center, the erupting magma destroyed the rock walls of the mountain, causing the entire cave to sway. Pieces of the mountain collapsed, and there were painful wailing everywhere. Although the range of the magma sea is not large, but after the eruption, the scope has expanded a lot, and coupled with the collapse of the mountain, the momentum is naturally even more astonishing. Run, the volcano has erupted. The unidentified pirates thought it was a volcanic eruption under the land. They all left from their positions, vying to leave this mountain range. They may have not weak power, but under the volcanic eruption. I definitely don't think I have the ability to fight against the power of a volcanic eruption. Only a small part of the pirate cadres showed shocked expressions. They are not a volcanic crater here, and the underground has been explored by them. There is absolutely no problem. How can a volcanic eruption occur? A volcanic eruption caused by a hollowed-out mountain is definitely more powerful than that caused by a flat ground, because the destructive power caused by the collapse of the mountain is no worse than that of a magma eruption. The pirates of Beast's pirates, except for those who were too late to escape, all the others rushed out of the mountains, watching the eruption of lava everywhere. Their eyes were shocked, and they didn't understand what happened. Boom. When all the pirates were at a loss, suddenly a figure rushed out of the magma and crashed in front of them. What was shocking was that crimson magma was continuously flowing on his body. It's a man, magma, he is Marine Admiral Akainu. If they didn't know what was going on before, but now seeing the appearance of Akainu, many people have reacted. They can cause magma to erupt and turn themselves into magma, except for the legendary Marine Admiral. Apart from Akainu, there will never be a second person in the world. How is it possible that Marine Admiral sneaked into here? Marine Admiral Akainu, why is he here? The pirates all showed incredible expressions, because this is so sensational. How could Marine Admiral Akainu, who was far in the first half of the Grand Line, appear in their Beast's pirates base? But Akainu doesn't matter what they think. He stared at the pirate in front of him with cold eyes, and said coldly, "Accept my anger." After that, he rushed into the crowd like a wolf into a flock. No pirate can stop him from punching. Even if there are hundreds of pirates here, many of them are powerful. The pirate cadres, but they are still not Akainu's opponents alone, and the killing has begun like a slaughter. The Beast's pirates base camp not far away naturally discovered the chaos here, and the pirates gathered quickly. A fat bald man with a huge body came out, looked at the flames not far away, and asked, "What the hell is going on?" This person is the great pirate of Beast's pirates. The man known as the Plague is one of the confidants of four emperors Kaido. His position in Beast's pirates is second only to Kaido and Jin. His strength is unfathomable, especially his abilities. It is desperate. At this time, a pirate ran over and said loudly, "Boss Quinn, something happened to the base. According to the news, it seems that Admiral Akainu of Naval Headquarters has attacked there. Our people have suffered heavy losses." Quinn grabbed the pirate and asked sharply, "What did you say? Marine Admiral Akainu? Why did he show up there? What nonsense are you talking about?" No wonder he was surprised, because this is indeed ridiculous. Shouldn't Marine Admirals stay in the first half of the Grand Line? How could it suddenly appear in Wano-kuni, and still in their Beast's pirates' territory? The pirate said pitifully, "Boss Quinn, I really didn't lie, it's the real Marine Admiral Akainu, it's him." Quinn threw him aside, looking solemnly at the direction of the accident. He didn't suspect that the pirate was lying, but was shocked. Marine admirals sneaked into their base camp. They didn't receive any news until the other party. After such a big disturbance, they only realized it later, which was really shocking. Marine Admiral Akainu, this is in trouble. Although he has never seen Akainu, he also knows from Kaido that Akainu is very strong. Now he is the one with the highest status in the base camp. As for the other flaming disaster, Jin, he is not here, and he is not sure that he can suppress it. Got to live Akainu. Go to that place to find Boss Kaido and tell him what happened here. After calling his confidant, Quinn immediately ordered. He knew that Kaido must be staying in the old place to drink at this time. Such a big thing happened and Kaido had to support the situation. I'll go to meet the legendary Marine Admiral for a while. Akainu is killing the ring. It has been a long time since he has been killing the ring like this. This time he was full of anger, and he was the only one, so he fought the pirates unscrupulously. Most of the pirates were unable to stop his punch, only a few pirates can support it under his ability, but if there is no support, it may not be long before the whole army is wiped out. In a short period of time, the pirates of Beast's pirates have been killed by Akainu to pieces, and the remaining pirates are also terrified. Akainu's abilities are too terrifying, and all their attacks combined can't hurt Akainu. But Akainu was able to abuse them at will. This is not a level of duel at all. Suddenly, Akainu, who was killing all directions, frowned. His backhand was a lava fist, and then there was a crashing sound. A big bald man appeared at the place where he had just attacked, blocking his lava fist. It's Quinn, boss. Boss Quinn is here, we are saved. When the surviving pirates saw the people, they all cheered excitedly. That is, their cheers let Akainu understand the identity of the people. Plague, Quinn. The only one who can stop him from a blow without injury, and can make so many pirates cheer excitedly, is called Quinn, and only the mysterious Plague. Marine Admiral Akainu. When Akainu was looking at Quinn, Quinn was also staring at Akainu. This was the first time he met Akainu. Although Akainu was just a random blow, Quinn was able to easily block it, which shows that he is extraordinary. At least better than all the pirates here. Akainu, our pirate group doesn't seem to have any grudges with you, Marine, right? Why are you here to make a big fuss? He really didn't understand how Akainu sneaked into them, and why he wanted to make trouble with them. Akainu snorted and said, Marine needs any grievances to catch the pirates. What's more, those who killed me and those who arrested me should know that this will happen. The one who killed you, the one who arrested you. Quinn reacted immediately. He remembered that Jack did kill a lot of Marine not long ago, and he also sent some people to the base camp. It is said that there is also a Marine general who is not low in status, because he didn't intervene, so he didn't know much. Is this what Akainu is talking about? Although he was puzzled in his heart, Quinn didn't dare to persuade him at all. Instead, he said, Marine Admiral is indeed very famous, but this is the site of our beast's pirates. You are only one person. It's really overwhelming. Since you're here now, don't even think about leaving. Kill a Marine Admiral. No one has done it yet. The appearance of Akainu surprised him, but it was not an opportunity. Since ancient times, it seems that Marine Admiral, who has not been in power, was killed by a pirate. Now Akainu has come to their base camp alone. In his opinion, this is similar to there is no difference in finding a dead end. If Akainu can be killed, it would be a great feat. The momentum of their beast's pirates can definitely overwhelm the other 3 pirate emperors. Want to kill me? Hearing Quinn's words, Akainu suddenly showed a disdainful sneer. The name of the 3 plagues of later generations may be very loud, but no matter how loud it is only the 3 plagues, not the pirate 4 emperors, not to mention that Quinn is not the 3 plagues yet. The strongest of them, Kaido, may be barely qualified to say this, but Quinn, he is not qualified at all. When you meet me, your epidemic can only disappear in the long river of history. With that said, Akainu was not going to talk nonsense anymore, he was going to kill Quinn. After all, Quinn was the number 3 character of Beast's pirates. If he could kill him, it would be better than killing hundreds of ordinary pirates. But just as he was about to do it, suddenly there was a thunderous shout from the sky. Akainu. The voice was very loud, like thunder, but after all the pirates present heard this voice, they all showed great joy, and Akainu's face also changed instantly. Beast Kaido, is this guy here too? Akainu is no stranger to Kaido's voice, because he had seen Kaido at the original G5 branch base, and he played against each other briefly, so he was no stranger to Kaido's voice. It's Kaido-sama who is here, and now the bastard Akainu is dead. The pirates present were very excited. Although Akainu just showed amazing strength and crushed them, in their eyes, their boss Kaido is the strongest person in the world. Now Kaido is here, and Akainu is dead. Deal. A shadow in the sky smashed towards Akainu. Akainu's face remained unchanged, his right hand turned into lava, and he hit the upper side with a punch, and Kaido in the air just fell down, and the 2 fists banged together. Boom. The fists of the 2 collided with each other, which produced extremely terrible consequences. First, the pirates who were closer were all lifted off, and then the place where Akainu was standing collapsed, and a huge hole with a radius of more than 10 meters appeared. Akainu was the only one standing there, and above him was Kaido. What a powerful force. Akainu's complexion was ruddy, and Kaido's power was indeed terrifying. He unloaded his strength to the ground to completely block this power, although it was also because of Kaido's raid from the air. Suddenly, Kaido's left arm dragon scales violently in the air, unexpectedly an extra force out of thin air, and the whole person continued to press down. Puff. Akainu, who had been standing still, was beaten to the ground, and no one was visible. One can imagine how powerful Kaido's strike is. Oh, Master Kaido is mighty. Kaido fell on the ground, and Akainu could no longer see the figure. All the pirates burst into cheers, but the cheers only lasted for a few seconds. Suddenly, an amazing pillar of magma burst from the ground, even Kaido also quickly retreated. The soaring magma fire column appeared, and then all the pirates saw Akainu walk out of the magma. Is this guy a monster? I was punched by Master Kaido, and nothing happened? The pirates of Beast's pirates worship Kaido endlessly, just as the pirates of the Whitebeard pirates venerate Whitebeard, and they all believe that their captain is invincible. Especially the pirates of Beast's pirates are even worse. It has something to do with Kaido's use of force to frighten his men. Everyone admires his power. Just now, Akainu was hit by Kaido and there were no problems at all. It really shocked them. However, Kaido himself was not at all surprised. He was still the same as a few years ago, naked, with fierce eyes, like a wild beast, staring at Akainu. Akainu, you dare to come to my site and attack my base. You are so bold. Akainu snorted disdainfully and said, Kaido, isn't what I am doing now is the same as what you did before? Naturally, what he said was what happened when the Marine and Whitebeard pirates fought. At that time, the appearance of Kaido disrupted Marine's deployment. Otherwise, Whitebeard's loss would definitely be more severe, and there might be a chance to leave Whitebeard. Regarding this matter, he has never forgotten. Now that the new hatred and the old hatred are added together, he naturally wants to vent. Master Kaido, this Akainu is here to save someone. A pirate shouted loudly next to him. Kaido glanced around. There was no one other than Akainu, and he didn't know if Akainu succeeded in saving people, but he saw that Akainu looked confident, and he had an answer in his heart. Everyone went to find them immediately, and any suspicious persons were captured by Lousy. Akainu frowned slightly. Kaido seemed to be arrogant, but in fact he was not low in wisdom, otherwise he would not be able to sit firmly in the position of 4 emperors, and he could see that he had rescued people. But he was not worried, because according to Hayward, they have left for 10 minutes. At his speed, even if they have not completely left, they are still far away, and Hayward's concealment methods are still very good. Coupled with his fruitful ability, the possibility of escape is very high. Kaido looked at Akainu and said, Akainu, what's the point of your Marine Admiral? Isn't it just a running dog for the world government? It's not as if you and I join forces to dominate the world with the strength of the 2 of us. It's not a problem at all. Akainu looked at Kaido in amazement, couldn't believe her ears. Is Kaido soliciting him? The Pirate 4 Emperors recruits Marine Admiral. If this is spread out, I don't know how many people will be shocked, because it is not an exaggeration to say that although the Pirate 4 Emperors dominates the New World, the name of Marine Admiral is definitely not better than that of the Pirate 4 Emperors. How much difference is? The 2 sides are basically in an equal position, not to mention the 2 sides are mortal enemies. It's up to you to dominate the world. Akainu has no scruples about it. Perhaps Kaido can become the 4 emperors of the pirate by virtue of his power, but he is completely unqualified if he wants to dominate the world. Even Akainu feels that even he is more qualified than Kaido. Kaido is also a domineering person, he said solemnly. Since you don't agree, then you don't want to leave today. Boom. There was no unnecessary nonsense. Akainu and Kaido immediately fought, and their fighting momentum was so terrifying that the others couldn't get close, let alone help. Kaido is definitely the top player in the hand-to-hand combat world. If Akainu hadn't practiced regularly with Garp over the years, he wouldn't really be able to beat Kaido in physical skills. But now Akainu's physical skills are not bad anymore, and he doesn't lose the wind at all when he fights with Kaido. In normal times, Akainu might seriously compete with Kaido, but now on the Beast's pirate site, he has no such idea. As the battlefront between the 2 moves, Akainu suddenly fights Kaido, and then retreated quickly, and came to the beach. Kaido, the next time we meet again, it will be when we are born and die. Standing on the beach, Akainu stared at Kaido tens of meters away with cold eyes. At such a close distance, Kaido can reach Akainu in just a few steps. Kaido said coldly, Today is the time of birth and death. I am born and you die. In front is the sea, behind him, and countless pirates. He believes that Akainu has no way to go back, either surrender or die. Akainu showed a mocking smile on his face, and slowly said, You will never know what kind of existence you are facing. You can't keep me with you. With that said, under the shocked gaze of Kaido and others, he jumped up from the beach and fell into the sea with a poof. Kaido, who was originally from the incomparable, with a look of astonishment on his face. Did Akainu jump into the sea? What's the situation? Isn't Akainu Logia demon fruit power? He can't swim, and jumping into the sea is a dead end, but why does he still do that? After the shock, Kaido immediately shouted, Go to the sea immediately and chase, hurry up. Although he didn't know why Akainu did this, he didn't think that Akainu was committing suicide. He felt that Akainu must have left behind on the bottom of the sea, so he jumped into the bottom of the sea so suddenly. The pirates who were not capable of Beast's pirates all jumped into the sea one by one, and the others also went to sail, trying to chase Akainu in the sea. But a few hours later, after all the chasing people came back, Kaido was very dissatisfied with the news. It all made him escape. Akainu. Kaido roared angrily. Akainu, who thought he was in his pocket, escaped in front of him. This made Kaido very angry. It won't be long before this matter will spread throughout New World, and Akainu will escape smoothly. But they won't be the laughing stock. Their Beast's pirates are the biggest laughing stock. Sakazuki Admiral, you are finally here. At the agreed place, Hayward saw Akainu finally appear, and he was relieved. He has been waiting here for several hours. The chaos on the street let him know that the current situation is very dangerous, and he has been worried all the time. The safety of Akainu. Now that Akainu finally appeared, I was completely relieved. It took Akainu a few hours to get here because he was avoiding the search in Wano-kuni. Fortunately, his observation haki was pretty good. He escaped the search and came here. How is Lucas? Hayward suddenly replied with a solemn expression. Not very good. He was injured very seriously and must be treated as soon as possible, otherwise it is very likely to have serious sequelae. Akainu looked at Lucas lying on the bed. His appearance was indeed very miserable. One can imagine how harshly he was tortured. "Are you sure to leave Wano Kuni now?" Akainu asked Hayward. Hayward shook his head and said, "I'm not too sure. After all, I have used my ability many times today. If I leave now, my ability may not be able to respond to emergencies, so I need time to recover. There is no absolute incomprehensible ability in the world. Although the door fruit is very powerful, it is not unlimited." Akainu frowned and asked, "How long will it take?" Hayward thought for a while, then replied, "1 day, no, about 10 hours. Akainu settled, and then said, "Well, then we will wait until the night to act and hide here temporarily." Because the hiding place they were looking for was really hidden, even though the samurai of beasts pirates and Wano Kuni searched everywhere, they still couldn't find their specific location, and Akainu and the others began to flee Wano Kuni at night. 2 days later, Akainu once again came to the place where he met Hayward before. Jonathan and the others were waiting for him here. As for Hayward, Akainu let him leave. "Sakazuki, you are finally back." Jonathan and others were excited when they saw Akainu come back safely. Akainu released Lucas, who had been in a coma since his escape, and said to Jonathan, "Let the medical soldiers come here. Lucas is seriously injured." Because he has been on the run, Lucas's injuries are getting heavier and heavier. He hasn't recovered for 2 days, and his breath is getting weaker and weaker, so Akainu is really worried that he will be seriously injured and die. Fortunately, there were medical soldiers on board and immediately began to treat Lucas. "How?" After being treated by the medics for a while, Akainu couldn't help but ask. The medical soldier immediately replied, "Sakazuki Admiral, Lucas Commodore's injuries are very serious. He has been tortured and suffered extremely serious injuries both physically and mentally. I can only treat his external injuries. As for him, I can't guarantee if I can wake up." Akainu's heart jumped. Lucas is his favorite general, and now only he knows the whereabouts of Lasana, so Lucas is absolutely not allowed to happen, but he also knows that the medical soldiers will not lie to him. So he said with a heavy face, "No matter what, you must treat him with all your strength. As long as you can save his life, I will give you a great deed." The medical soldier solemnly nodded and said, "Sakazuki Admiral, don't worry, I will do my best." "Sakazuki, how did you rescue Lucas? And why didn't Lasana see it?" After Akainu and Jonathan left the room, Jonathan couldn't help being curious anymore and asked Akainu. "What happened to Wano Kuni was 2 days ago, plus Wano Kuni was closed and locked up in the country. At this time, it has not been spread, so Jonathan does not know what happened, and he only saw Lucas alone, not Lasana," is also very puzzled. Akainu said, "It's not the time to talk about this. I will rush back to the G5 branch immediately. I will tell you slowly on the road." At this time they were on the ship, and the medical conditions were naturally not as good as the branch base, so for the safety of Lucas, he asked Jonathan to immediately drive the warship back to the G5 branch. Claude and others have been waiting for news at the base. Not long ago, they received a letter from the intelligence personnel arranged near Wano Kuni, and they knew that Wano Kuni and Beast's pirates had turmoil, but what happened in the final situation was what? They don't know anything, so they are very anxious. It was not until someone came to inform that Akainu had led the people back to the branch base, they were relieved, and then excitedly greeted Akainu. There were still 4 people, Akainu, Kuzan, Claude and Zhuan Yuan. Akainu briefly described the action this time. Of course, the key part was naturally hidden, and the Hayward part was omitted, just to rely on his own ability infiltrated Wano Kuni, and then rescued Lucas from the territory of Wano Kuni Beast's pirates. Really that easy? Regarding what Akainu said, the 3 of Claude looked at each other and didn't believe it, because this is too exaggerated. With the strength of one person, not only did they get in and out of Wano Kuni smoothly, but also in the presence of the Beast Kaido. The hostages were rescued. Is Beast's pirates really paperless and vulnerable? Akainu also knows that his explanation is full of flaws, but he doesn't care. Anyway, except for the 3 of them, the others will never know the specific details, and Lucas and Hayward will never betray him. So even if other people are skeptical, it is impossible to guess the real process. Seeing that Akainu didn't mean to explain, the 3 of Claude didn't ask more. After all, everyone has their own secrets. Claude said, "According to you, Lasana escaped while being taken to Wano Kuni, but it has been a long time since she escaped. If she did escape, why is it now? No news." Akainu said, "This is where I am puzzled. If she is safe, she will definitely contact me as soon as possible. Even if she can't contact me, she will come to you. After all, she knows the relationship between you and me, but she hasn't been there until now. News, I'm afraid that something we don't know has happened." Zhuan Yuan said, "Lasana is a very smart child. Since she can escape, she will definitely ensure her safety. Maybe she can't contact you for some reason, so you don't have to worry too much. How could it not be anxious? Akainu sighed in his heart. After spending so much effort, he finally didn't find Lasana. He said that he was not discouraged. It was impossible. Now that things are developing in an unpredictable direction, he can only wait quietly. Anyway, Lasana must still be in New World. Now our only clue is Lucas. Maybe he will give us useful information when he wakes up, Claude said to Akainu. Akainu nodded. This is the only way now. Lucas came to New World with Lasana. It was also the last one he saw Lasana, so after he woke up, he should be able to provide useful information. The question now is when Lucas will be able to wake up. After all, although he has saved his life, he has suffered serious mental injuries. Whether he can wake up, even the medical soldiers cannot give an accurate response. This wait took 3 full days. On the 4th day, Lucas finally woke up, but to Akainu's disappointment, Lucas only knew where Lasana had escaped, but after escaping, he didn't know exactly where he was now, because they didn't have an agreed place in New World. In desperation, Akainu could only send people to cast a net to search for it, but a month later, he still couldn't find Lasana's whereabouts, which made him almost desperate. Because during this period of time, what he did in Wano Kuni has spread throughout New World. Everyone knows that Marine Admiral Akainu rushed to Wano Kuni Beast's pirates to rescue people, and Kaido did not leave people behind even when Kaido personally took action. This incident caused a great sensation in the New World. Once again, Akainu became famous and became a fearful existence for all pirates, because among the 4 emperors of the pirates, Akainu has beaten Whitebeard and Kaido. He even defeated Red Hair pirates. Except for the female pirate emperor, all 3 emperors were beaten by him, and none of them suffered. Among other things, this record alone, in the naval headquarters, there are few that can be compared with him. If it was normal, Lasana would have heard about it and contacted him if there was no accident, but Lasana had never appeared, which made his unfamiliar premonition deeper and deeper. But he still had a glimmer of hope. After all, Lasana was able to escape from Beast's pirates' hands. If there were other dangers, there might not be no chance to escape. Akainu stayed at the G5 branch base for 2 months. He had to leave the G5 branch and return to the naval headquarters in the first half of the Grand Line until Sengoku of Naval Headquarters issued several consecutive orders. The reason why Sengoku called Akainu back to Naval Headquarters so urgently was also because of the situation in New World. After experiencing this incident, Kaido, the Beast, was naturally extremely angry and repeatedly provoked Marine. Sengoku feared that Akainu in New World would lose control again. That's why he was called back to Naval Headquarters urgently. Sengoku is the Marshal of Naval Headquarters after all, and Akainu doesn't want to offend too much. In addition, now Lasana's whereabouts are unknown, he has no time to entangle with Beast's pirates, so he returned to Naval Headquarters. After returning to Naval Headquarters, Akainu and Sengoku met again, but both of them had calmed down at this time. They were selective and did not mention their previous conflicts because they knew each other well. Marine now needs both of them. If there are conflicts between the 2 of them, neither Naval Headquarters nor the world government will allow it. But what surprised Akainu was that 2 months after he returned to Naval Headquarters, Lasana, whom he had been worried about, finally had news, and it was still good news. This was the information passed back from Claude of New World. It turned out that Lasana did have an accident, so she didn't contact them in time. Although it was dangerous, she finally reached the G5 branch base safely and brought a very unexpected character. A few days later, teacher. Lasana ran to Akainu excitedly, wanting to hug Akainu, but she didn't dare. In the end, Akainu hugged her into her arms and hugged her tightly, just like hugging the most precious thing in the world. Treasures are average. It's okay, it's okay. Although he has never been a parent before, he can really feel the feelings of his parents at this moment. He doesn't expect his children to have great abilities. He only hopes that they can live peacefully and peacefully. This is what the happiest. After a long time, Lasana said with embarrassment, "Teacher, I shame you this time, and I am sorry everyone. If it weren't for my waywardness, it wouldn't hurt so many people. I die." What she said was naturally about entering the New World. If it weren't for his persistence, Lucas wouldn't necessarily let her pass. Perhaps if she stayed in the first half of the Grand Line, those soldiers would not die. Akainu comforted. Lasana, this is life. You can never know what will happen next moment. This time, it is because of your willfulness, but it is not entirely your responsibility, but you can recognize your own wrong. This is also the teacher's comfort. Well, this time, many soldiers died because of you, so you still have to take the responsibility. I will let you condolences to the relatives of those soldiers. Remember, no matter how they treat you and resent you, you can't be angry, you have to apologize sincerely, because they are the biggest victims compared to you. Lasana nodded vigorously and said, I know what to do, teacher. Akainu patted her forehead, and said softly, okay, you can do this in a few days. Let me talk about what happened during this period of time, why you haven't contacted me or K. Lord. Even if Lasana is still young, but in fact she is not only not weak, but also very smart. Otherwise she would not be able to escape under the guard of Beast's pirates even if she was caught, which would make her unable to escape. Contacting anyone, something extraordinary must have happened. Teacher, it's like this. After Lasana finished her story, Akainu had to sigh that it was indeed a wonderful journey. It turned out that Lasana immediately recovered her injuries after escaping from the ship of Beast's pirates, because there was no phone bug on her body that could be contacted. Because this is New World, it is very dangerous, so she was prepared to wait for her injuries to get better before going there. The Marine G5 branch asked Claude for help. She knew Claude's relationship with her teacher, Akainu, and she must be responsive. If she can reach the G5 branch safely, things will not be so complicated, but the problem is that she actually encountered a strong enemy in the middle of the way. The pirate who is also Logia demon fruit power. Sand fruit ability, crocodile. What happens when Marine encounters a pirate is self-evident. What's more, Lasana, who is extremely disgusted with pirates, can't ignore crocodile even if she is in a hurry to report after she meets crocodile. People fought. Both of them are Logia capable people, one is a supernova in the pirate world, and the other is a supernova in the marine world. After the fight, no one can help each other. Lasana saw that she couldn't catch crocodile, so she prepared to leave first. After all, the lives of Lucas and others were more important than crocodile. But she wanted to leave, but crocodile disagreed again. At this time, crocodile was in a dark period in his life. He failed to challenge Whitebeard and was broken by Whitebeard. Although Whitebeard did not kill him in the end, Whitebeard was under his command. The pirates of the group wanted to catch him for meritorious service, so he has been chased by the pirates under Whitebeard's command. Crocodile was full of anger in his heart and didn't want to let Lasana this marine off. The two of them fought like you and me, and they fought for days and nights without a win. In fact, at the beginning, the relatively immature Lasana was still slightly at a disadvantage, but after a few days of playing, she made rapid progress and was able to tie with Crocodile. Although Crocodile has also improved, she still can't help him. Shanna. If only this is the case, but when the two were anxious, the pirates of the Whitebeard pirates who were hunting Crocodile appeared again. The pirates of Whitebeard didn't care who Lasana was. See her. He even stayed with Crocodile and thought they were accomplices, so he immediately attacked them. The two who were already exhausted, naturally cannot be the opponents of the pirates, who were chased and beaten by others. If it weren't for Logia's ability, they would have been caught long ago. At the juncture of life and death, both Lasana and Crocodile realized the problem. If they did not unite, their death period might be approaching, so the two were forced to join forces to meet the enemy, and finally escaped from the encirclement, but they were also always chased. It is precisely because of this that Lasana has never had the opportunity to contact the outside world, or even to inquire about the news. In the end, Crocodile herself proposed a truce, saying that she wanted to join the world government and awarded the 7 warlords of the sea soon. The fight between the two came to an end. After reaching a consensus, the two teamed up to kill the pirate who was chasing them, and Lasana went to the Marine G5 branch base. Then she knew that so many sensational things had happened during this period, so she couldn't wait to get back. Go to naval headquarters. That's it seems that you have grown a lot this time. After listening to Lasana's narration, Akainu was very pleased. Although he was surprised by Lasana's encounter with Crocodile, Lasana was able to compete against Crocodile, which was somewhat beyond his expectation. After all, Lasana is only 17 years old now, and Crocodile has been famous for many years, and is still a pirate who has challenged Whitebeard, and can be no weaker than him. This is already the greatest affirmation of Lasana's strength. You will see Lucas later. Although he has woken up, his injuries have not fully recovered until now. He has suffered a lot of crimes for your sake. Lucas is indeed very miserable this time. He is a warship. Except for the soldiers who were not killed at the beginning, the only one who was caught by Beast's pirates and survived. Both physically and mentally. The serious injury, even after a few months, still has not fully recovered. Hearing that Lucas was seriously injured, Lasana's face was full of guilt. This time she bears the greatest responsibility. Lucas, who has been caring for her, was seriously injured. After Lasana left, Akainu was thinking. I didn't expect Lasana to meet Crocodile. As a result, 7 warlords of the sea had another Crocodile, thinking of what Crocodile did in Alabasta. Everything. His instinct is to be very disgusted and want to get rid of Crocodile. But now it seems that Crocodile has already contacted naval headquarters. With his ability, Sengoku will definitely let him ascend to Shichibukai's position. When he wants to get rid of Crocodile, it will be impossible. The world government cannot let him kill Crocodile, otherwise, which pirate in the world is willing to become 7 warlords of the sea? People are not as good as heaven. Originally, Akainu's plan was to build 7 warlords of the sea into his own power and choose whoever he believed in or who surrendered to him, so that even if Shichibukai was banned at will in the future, it would be a breeze. But who would have thought that things were not developing in the direction he had imagined? Except for an eagle eye he invited, the rest of the people did not follow what he thought they were. They were all people he couldn't control. Bartholomew Kuma is a member of the Revolutionary Army, not to mention Gecko Moria, who was born to be beaten. Now this crocodile is a person who refuses to obey anyone. It is impossible to expect them to surrender. Shichibukai has 4 so soon, so Akainu feels a lot of pressure and must put the plan on the agenda as soon as possible. In the next few days, Akainu personally took Lasana to visit the families of Marine soldiers who had died before, apologizing in his own name as Marine Admiral, and moved those family members inexplicably, although there were also cries and riots, but only very few. The pirate world is a very chaotic world. After becoming a Marine and enjoying the superior treatment, it is natural to risk their lives and the death rate is quite high, so most people can understand it, not to mention this time Akainu however. I personally apologized and gave a lot of compensation. Many people chose to forgive. In the process, Lasana didn't say a word, just apologized. Not only that, after handling all this, Akainu thanked Zephyr Admiral again. This time he was more serious than last time. After all, he was still worried about Lasana last time and didn't say much to Zephyr. After dealing with all this, Akainu called Lucas to him again. Lucas, this time because of Lasana's fault, you have suffered so much, do you regret it? Looking at the 30-year-old Lucas in front of him, Akainu felt very emotional. Lucas has been with him for 17 or 18 years, from a teenager to a middle-aged uncle now, in order to better serve him. He hasn't been married until now, so Akainu feels a little guilty towards him, knowing that he is usually very strict with him. In the past, although he also focused on training Lucas, in fact Lucas's status is far less than that of ghost spiders. But this time Lucas's performance really moved him from the bottom of his heart. He is so attentive and loyal to his disciples, it is conceivable that Lucas has absolutely no two minds towards himself. Lucas heard Akainu's words and said with a serious face, "No, I will never regret playing for Sakazuki Admiral, and this time I also have my responsibility. If I am strong enough, I won't let Lisa Miss Na is injured, and her brothers will not be killed in battle." Akainu nodded and said, "Able to recognize your own shortcomings, you have also improved this time. You have always stayed at naval headquarters before and have not led the army alone, so there is still something to be lacking against the pirates, especially those on the sea. Top big pirates, you are far behind them. Lucas's strength is actually not weak, but the most indispensable in this sea is the strong. He can only be regarded as good. Even the ghost spiders are far behind them, let alone the more powerful big pirates." Lucas looks ashamed. He has always been proud. After all, he can become Marine Admiral's personal captain. This is something that countless people can't get, but this blow let him know that he is really too far behind. If Akainu is really in danger by then, these so-called soldiers will not be able to save Akainu, but they will want Akainu to save them. In this case, what do they still need to do? Don't be presumptuous. I'm watching you grow. Your potential is still very good. It's just that you have always lacked an opportunity. Today, I will give you this opportunity. For Lucas, Akainu is more satisfied, loyal, smart, and has leadership skills. Even though he now has a lot of Rear Admiral Commodore under his command, Lucas is also one of his most promising people. With that, he took out an item and said, "This is your chance." I saw that the fruit in his hand was a fruit with a strange pattern, somewhat similar to a banana. After seeing this fruit, Lucas suddenly exclaimed, "Devil fruit." Akainu said, "Yes, this is the devil fruit for you. When the golden lion was killed before, I got 3 devil fruits from his treasure, all of which are zone devil fruits, and the other 2 are ordinary zone. I gave it to Claude, and this one, it is not a normal zone, but an ancient species of zone pterosaur form." Pterosaur? Lucas was puzzled. He didn't know much about devil fruit, so he didn't know this devil fruit. Akainu said, "This is a flying devil fruit ability. Compared to Logia, it is not inferior and even rarer. I will give it to you, and I hope you will not live up to my expectations of you." Lucas asked excitedly, "Sakazuki Admiral, is this really for me?" Akainu said, "When have you seen me lying? This fruit is very precious. I will only give it to my most trusted subordinates, and you, one of my most trusted subordinates, have the ability to fly fruit. You will be able to help me better in the future." Lucas wanted to refuse, but this was really hard to say. The vast majority of people on the sea wanted to get devil fruit, not to mention this precious ancient species of flying. He got this fruit immediately. Earth-shaking changes will occur. Seeing Lucas's hesitation, Akainu forced the fruit into his hand and said, "This fruit is handed over to you to make it easier for you to work for me. If you don't want it, does it mean now, you don't want to work for me?" With a questioning tone, He knew that Lucas was restrained, so being strong would make Lucas more acceptable. Sure enough, when Lucas heard this, he no longer hesitated, hugged the fruit tightly, and assured Akainu, "Sakazuki Admiral, don't worry, I will leave it to you for the rest of my life. I have nothing to say about what I want to do." Akainu rarely joked. "Don't be so scary, you are not a woman. Why do you leave it to me in this life?" Lucaston smirked with embarrassment on his face. "And one more thing." Akainu looked at Lucas with excitement, and said again, "You have been my captain, and you can't display your talents. I have made a decision for you. I will call you out soon. Headquarters, let you go to North Blue and become a branch base leader." After saying this, Akainu kept staring at Lucas, watching his expression. After all, from the perspective of normal people, from naval headquarters transferred to the 4 Seas as base officer, it seems that the military rank has changed from Commodore to Rear Admiral, but it is actually rising and falling. After all, the Marine generals in the 4 Seas, how can it be more? He can be a general in his head, not to mention a close friend of Marine Admiral. But Lucas did not disappoint Akainu. After hearing Akainu's words, he did not hesitate at all, and immediately responded, "I have no opinion, just don't know what Sakazuki Admiral do you want me to do?" "You react quickly, you are right, I transferred you to North Blue not only to train you, but also for the layout. Because in the near future, I will go to North Blue, so I need you to fight for me." "Array," Akainu said. Lucas didn't ask any more questions, and immediately replied, "I would like to fight for you." Akainu said, "Very well, you have prepared in the last few days. I will transfer you there soon. Although North Blue is not better than the first half of the Grand Line, you should not underestimate the pirates there. There are also many powerful seas. Thief, you must be careful when you do everything. Unless you can crush everything with absolute strength, it is best to make decisions." Lucas knew that Akainu was teaching him, so he replied seriously, "Yes, Sakazuki Admiral." Since Lasana's incident, Akainu has realized his shortcomings. His influence in Marine is not enough. This can be seen from the time when he had conflicts with Sengoku. The only ones who dare to help him are Zephyr and Suru Vice Admiral, and they only help him, not support him. In fact, they have a better relationship with Sengoku. If he really turns his face with Sengoku, if so, the two of them are definitely on Sengoku's side, not on his side, which he can see very clearly. In addition to the two of them, there were some people who supported him, but they were all rejected by Akainu at the time because those people still didn't play a big role. But compared with the vast number of high-level generals in naval headquarters, the people who could support him, even less than 1/10, which made him feel very upset, and realized that he needed to take action. He doesn't know what means Akainu in the comics used to get many people to support him. Now he can only use his own means. After all, after Sengoku abdicated, he is fighting for the position of Marshal Marine. Akainu in the comics has the support of 5 elders and a group of Marine executives, but now he not only hates 5 elders, but there are not many people who dare to support him, and those who support him are all eagles. To send characters, this is far from enough. Now that the naval headquarters base has been built into a piece of iron by Sengoku, even if there are loopholes to drill, it will take time, and it is not easy to move under Sengoku's nose, so he is ready to slowly all his people put it outside. Surrounding the city with the countryside is not a bad way. Lucas was only the first step in his action. "Marshal Sengoku, thank you for allowing me to wake up and let it go. It's not a good decision. Now I'm going to make a move." Because of the confrontation between Akainu and Sengoku, the situation in naval headquarters is a bit turbulent. Of course, this is only secretly. No one dares to mess around on the bright side, especially the Akainu family. They are all squeezed out and secretly. "Sakazuki, are you kidding me?" Doberman looked at the paper in his hands trembling a little. The content of this made him, the head of the military investigation department, shake his mind, so that he asked such a question. Akainu looked indifferent and slowly said, "Doberman, the war has begun, haven't you realized it yet?" Doberman shook his whole body, and asked in a quiet voice, "Have you really decided? Are you sure about this situation?" Akainu said, "I'm not prepared to do anything rebellious. What are you doing so nervously? I did this just in case. You also saw the previous things with your own eyes. Sometimes you don't argue, it doesn't mean that others will let go. After you, do you have anything to hesitate now?" Doberman smiled bitterly. He was a hawkish general, and because he accepted Akainu's gift back then, he was in the same boat as Akainu. If Akainu loses power, he will not get it well, so even if he doesn't feel much in his heart, "I want to do it, but I have no choice. Marshal Sengoku managed Marine well. Why do you need to do this?" Akainu said, "I didn't mean to target Marshal Sengoku. Actually, I still admire him very much, but I only admire him, but I don't agree with his way of doing things. He is too soft and should not be treated like this to pirates. A soft and ambiguous retreat will only make the pirates more and more mad. Now the 4 emperors of the pirates are the best example. Daubman was speechless, and he thought to himself, the appearance of the 4 emperors of the pirates seems to be your masterpiece, but to complain about it, he still prefers what Akainu said. Sengoku is indeed a bit soft on this matter. Although this also guarantees the temporary peace of the world, this stability is illusory, and the rapid development of the pirate forces is not easy to say in the future. And what makes him speechless is that the appearance of 7 warlords of the sea, in his opinion, is simply a faint trick. Although it originated from the world government, it was displayed through the hands of Sengoku. But the people who made the Marine Hawk faction were very dissatisfied. Seeing Doberman still hesitating, Akainu said again, "Don't worry, I'm just doing this for the sake of the future. I never thought of opposing Marshal Sengoku, but Marshal Sengoku is getting older after all, so he can how many years have been Marshal Marine? I did this just to smoothly ascend the position of Marshal after Marshal Sengoku abdicated in the future. Don't you want me to become Marshal Marine? This certainly does not need to be questioned." Daubman spoke without hesitation, and then said, "It's just that if I do this, if Marshal Sengoku knows it, will it?" Akainu said, "It depends on your methods. As long as you can get the true evidence, what should you worry about?" Doberman thinks too. What he is doing now is this aspect of things. As long as people have nothing to say, there is evidence, no one can say about him on this point. "Well, I will try my best to do what you say." As he said, he burned the paper in his hand with fire, and he had already memorized all the contents on it. But Akainu said with a deep gaze, "It's not trying to do it, it's certain." Daubman looked at Akainu's domineering eyes, his heart clenched, and gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, for sure. Then, leave it to you." Akainu waved his hand to Doberman, and then left. Seeing Akainu's leaving back, Doberman's back is already wet. When he communicated with Akainu before, they were on an equal relationship, but this time, he felt the tremendous pressure and felt the same on Akainu. Capture the momentum. It's getting more and more hockey, Sakazuki. Seriously, Akainu, even he felt a huge pressure, let alone other people, but thinking of Akainu's identity and his current relationship with Akainu, he actually thinks this is a good thing. This is more like a king. "Hey, I'll be busy next." Doberman moved very quickly. In just 2 or 3 months, several Marine branch chiefs were found corrupted by him, and the amount was very large. All these generals were arrested by the headquarters. Akainu knows Sengoku's character. Although it is sometimes softer, it is often very harsh. For example, when dealing with these scum in Marine, he did not hesitate to punish them one by one, while Akainu took advantage of this opportunity to punish them. Those who are loyal to him have transferred out one by one. Of course, he didn't participate in the process at all, only with the help of others. Fortunately, Sengoku didn't care too much about the generals of these Marine branch bases. Once they had suitable candidates, they were immediately dispatched. Because of Doberman's big actions, the atmosphere inside Marine suddenly became tense. Whether it was the generals of the headquarters or the generals of the branch base, all this time was full of turmoil, and he dared not do anything arrogant. Perhaps seeing the changes in Marine's atmosphere, Sengoku, instead of doubting, praised Doberman very comfortably, saying that he was serious and improved the corruption in Marine. As for Akainu himself, during this period of time, he has always been simple. He has never participated in major or minor matters. Even if it is a high-level meeting within Marine, he can push it. If he can't push it, he just walks away. During the cutscenes, no opinions were expressed. In most people's eyes, Akainu's performance is showing weakness to Sengoku. Many people think that Akainu is very acquainted. Although Marine Admiral's status is very high, Sengoku is Marshal Marine after all. Admiral and Marshal sang a drama against the Marshal, and ultimately suffered a loss. It must be Marine Admiral. And Sengoku did not deliberately target Akainu because of what happened at the time. Although there was a gap between the two, they still maintained a balance with each other, which was regarded as peaceful coexistence. Regarding the internal layout of Marine, Akainu is not too anxious. In his plan, a step-by-step cannibalization is the best choice, because this will not shake the internal strength of Marine, not to mention that Sengoku is now popular, even if he does. No matter how he does it, it is impossible to pull Sengoku off the horse, so he can only wait for the opportunity to top the war, and there are still 10 years to go, enough for him to arrange everything. On this day, Akainu suddenly received a letter from the Ghost Spider, saying that it was Princess Otahime of the Fishmen Island, and Jinbei, the captain of the Pirates of the Sun, wanted to meet him. Regarding the Fishmen Island, Akainu doesn't care much, because in his opinion, Neptune is not a partner for cooperation at all, but when he hears the name Jinbei, he is interested. He asked the Ghost Spider to tell Jinbei to come and see him, but was refused because it was not convenient, and sincerely pleaded with Akainu to meet them at the Fishmen Island, and promised that Akainu would not be disappointed. Akainu considered it for a while and finally decided to take a trip. Anyway, he has nothing to do now, He is also very curious about Princess Otahime and Jinbei's request to meet him at this time, and he promised not to disappoint him. You have to know. He is Marine Admiral, he has an extraordinary vision, and there are not many things that he can see. Akainu brought people to the Fishman Island soon. Sengoku knew when he left from the headquarters, but he did not stop it, because Akainu was really stable during this period, and he didn't need to pay attention to it. Sakazuki, since you are here, then I will go to inform the people of the Fishman Island now. The ghost spider greeted Akainu in, and Akainu glanced at the 2 knives hanging on the ghost spider. These 2 knives were the 2 famous knives he took from Golden Lion after Golden Lion died, Sakura Ten and Muku. These 2 knives are also famous knives of the big knives level. They were rewarded by the ghost spiders. The ghost spiders who have not had any good knives have been carrying them since then. Perhaps he noticed Akainu's gaze, and an iron-blooded man like Ghost Spider smiled awkwardly, and said, "These 2 knives are much more powerful than my previous knives, and I can also cultivate tacit understanding with them all the time. These 2 knives are not only the famous knives of the big sharp knife level, but also the weapons of the legendary pirate Golden Lion. Now they belong to him." This kind of mood is naturally very refreshing. "Do you know why they want to see me?" Akainu asked the Ghost Spider. Ghost Spider replied, "I don't know, but Princess Otahime, besides the murloc things that can make her run around and tired, what else can make her care so much? It's probably because of their murloc things. He has been here for several years, and has been adjacent to the Fishman Island for so long. He not only guards against pirates, but also pays attention to the actions of the Fishman Island. The situation of the Fishman Island has long been known. Yu Shang also knows the character of Princess Otahime very well, so he can be so sure. This woman is indeed an amazing person. She is countless times stronger than her husband. It's a pity that she is from a murloc clan. Otherwise, I must really recruit her." Although Akainu is not a noble person himself, this does not prevent him from admiring people like Princess Otahime. Ishin is for the sake of the tribe, even if he is killed by the tribe in the end, there is no resentment. This noble sentiment, it's never seen before. The Ghost Spider also hummed. Although this woman is a bit naive, she can be considered easy to get along with, but it is his husband. You are right. This guy is very deep-minded, but he has been guarding us all the time. The Whitebeard pirates have been in contact with each other very much. What is their idea? Do you really think we don't know? Akainu waved his hand and said, "Don't worry about him, he's just a trash. What about Jinbei?" The Ghost Spider said, "If I guessed correctly, he should have asked you. He is now the captain of the Pirates of the Sun. It seems that his subordinates were caught impelled down by the people of Peluzalino. Once I see you, I should just want to ask for love." When Akainu heard this, he was relieved immediately. He didn't pay much attention to the murlocs, so he didn't know much, but Jinbei still knew a little bit. He didn't think about it before. Now when he was reminded by the Ghost Spider, he immediately knew Jinbei's. The purpose should be for the murloc Arlong. Thinking of Arlong, a murloc pirate, he suddenly had a murderous intent, because this Arlong was very vicious and killed a lot of humans. It was fine if he didn't think about it before. Now when he thinks about it, he is naturally not willing to let him go. Killing him is almost the same. Jinbei is a murloc. I have seen him several times. He is a very bold person. He has always been known as chivalrous. Unlike ordinary pirates, he has basically never killed anyone. Akainu looked at the Ghost Spider in surprise. Like him, the Ghost Spider hates the pirate, but now he can make such an evaluation of a pirate. It seems that this Jinbei is really extraordinary. His understanding of Jinbei comes from the comics. This murloc is indeed different from ordinary pirates, but whether it is like this, he hasn't seen it with his own eyes, and he can't make a judgment. Sakazuki Admiral, Ghost Spider Vice Admiral, Princess Otahime and Jinbei of the Fishman Island are here. Akainu immediately ordered, "Bring them in." Soon, Princess Otahime and a murloc who were much larger than her were brought in. Because Akainu and Princess Otahime have met several times, they are relatively familiar, so after just taking a look, they set their sights on another murloc. This fish is burly, different from humans. It has windy eyebrows and sideburns. The hairstyle is curly hair. The chin has a thick short beard. There are lightning marks on the corner of the left eye. It has a large body and 2 large jaws. The tooth, in front of his chest, has a sign of the sun, which is the sign of the Pirates of the Sun. Is this the shaman, Jinbei? Akainu's eyes shone with light, and an aura of no anger and prestige exuded. Jinbei walked into the hall with Princess Oheim. This is his second visit. At this time, there are only 2 people sitting in the hall. Among them, he knows the person sitting at the bottom. This is the commander of the base, Marine Vice Admiral Ghost Spider. Then, the person who can sit on the Ghost Spider is obviously more respected, and there is no need to say more about the identity. Marine Admiral Akainu. When he looked at Akainu, he suddenly felt a huge pressure. Those eyes seemed to want to see through him. What was even more amazing was the innocence and mighty power on Akainu, which he had never seen before. Let him secretly startled. Is this the Marine Admiral, Akainu that Tiger Boss said? It seems to have a strong aura. Jinbei, as the most important brother of the late Fisher Tiger, naturally knew a lot of secrets. He also heard Tiger say about the encounter between Tiger and Akainu, but that was only a hearing after all, not a real contact. Now that he saw the prestigious Marine Admiral in person, Akainu put too much pressure on him. Are you Jinbei? While Jinbei was still stunned, Princess Oheim suddenly gave him a hand and said, "What's the matter with you?" Jinbei immediately recovered, looking at Akainu who was staring at him, and realizing that Akainu had no dissatisfaction on his face, he immediately replied, "Sorry, I am lost, I am Jinbei." Akainu said coldly, "The pirate captain of the Pirates of the Sun is offering a bounty of 220 million Baileys. You were really brave enough to beg me as a pirate." After the death of Fisher Tiger, Jinbei became the captain of the Pirates of the Sun with his outstanding strength. He was awarded a reward of 220 million Baileys by the world government. Yes, it was only a little bit more than the Fisher Tiger of yesteryear. Jinbei's expression suddenly changed when he heard Akainu's words. He had heard of Akainu's name and naturally knew Akainu's attitude towards pirates. He hasn't spoken yet. If Akainu is dissatisfied, it will be difficult to talk about it next. Go down. Before he thought about how to speak, Princess Otahime on the side eagerly explained, "Mr. Sakazuki, you misunderstood, Jinbei and the others are not doing evil. They were offered a reward because they offended the world government." Jinbei also explained, "We are just to protect ourselves. If we can live together in peace, we would not want to be pirates." This is true. Although there are Murlocs in his pirate regiment who are hostile to humans, most of them are forced to become pirates, because there are many slaves among them. If they don't become pirates, there is nowhere to go. After all, even in the Fishmen Island, slaves are still despised. Akainu waved his hand and said, "I don't care what you are for becoming a pirate. The reason why you are not arrested now is because you have cooperated with your Murlocs, and because you have never done anything heinous. Needless to say, you have worked so hard to get me here. What is the matter?" Jinbei and Princess Otahime looked at each other. Although Princess Otahime had told him about Akainu's behavior before, he was still a little nervous when he saw Akainu so directly. After hesitating, Jinbei said, "We are here because we want to ask you for help." Say. Although he guessed what it was, Akainu still pretended not to know anything. Jinbei said, "Our pirate group was caught by your marine. We want to ask you to help and release them." Akainu narrowed his eyes and asked, "You are talking about the Arlong Murloc from your pirate group, right? I know this man. He killed a lot of innocent civilians. He also killed a lot of our soldiers. He wanted me to let go. He comes out. Do you think it's possible?" He was very disgusted with Arlong, and didn't want to let him out at all. Seeing Akainu's refusal without hesitation, Jinbei gritted his teeth and said, "As long as I can release Arlong, I am willing to become 7 warlords of the sea." Suddenly, Akainu looked at Jinbei strangely and said, "I'm very curious, where do you have such confidence? Do you think you can make conditions for me after becoming 7 warlords of the sea?" "Yes, 7 warlords of the sea does some requirements can be made, but that is after becoming Shichibukai, not before. What's more, the big pirate who was invited by our marine to make this request. As for someone who wants to be a Shichibukai like you, do you think you are qualified to make a request?" Jinbei's face suddenly became a little ugly. Arlong is his brother. He has to be rescued anyway, but he doesn't know anyone in marine. The only thing that is related is Akainu in front of him. After all, Akainu and Tiger and Princess Otahime and others have friendships, and he thought that by virtue of these friendships, Akainu could agree, but who would have thought that Akainu's attitude was so resolute? Seeing that the conversation between the two was embarrassing, Princess Otahime immediately said, "Mr. Sakazuki, Jinbei didn't mean that, he was just worried about his companions." "I don't care what you think, but it's not that easy to let me release a pirate," Akainu said. Obviously refused, but Jinbei and Princess Otahime's eyes lit up at the same time, because what Akainu said is not impossible, but not so easy, which shows that there is still room for maneuver. Princess Otahime motioned to Jinbei not to say anything, and then she asked Akainu, "Mr. Sakazuki, I don't know what kind of conditions we need to pay before you can agree to our request." She has a natural observation haki, and her level is not low. She can sense other people's inner thoughts. Although she can't sense people like Akainu, she gets along with Akainu several times and can more or less guess what Akainu means. Akainu said lightly, "If you can agree to the Murloc's loyalty to me, maybe I will agree to your request." Princess Otahime suddenly smiled awkwardly. "Mr. Sakazuki, you laughed." Akainu shook his head and said, "I didn't tell you a joke. As long as you can make the Murlocs be loyal to me, and only loyal to me, I can not only release people, but also meet your other requests. He doesn't like Neptune, but the Murlocs are indeed a good hand at the bottom of the sea. If they can have a Murloc elite force, it is definitely very good. But it was clear that Princess Otahime could not agree to his request. Besides this condition, I really can't think of anything worthy of my promise to you. Princess Otahime said, I can promise to give you enough money. Akainu said lightly, money treasure is indeed a good thing, but do you think I need that kind of thing as a marine admiral? He certainly needed it, but he couldn't show it in front of Princess Otahime. Princess Otahime suddenly had nothing to say. She was not a good negotiator. What's more, the Akainu she faced didn't give her a chance to negotiate fairly. At this moment Jinbei couldn't help but speak again, and asked, then I don't know how Mr. Sakazuki can agree. As long as I can do it, there is no way to define it. Akainu looked at Jinbei with interest and said, to be honest, you really have nothing to care about, but since I'm here, then I also give you a chance. You go to kill a captain of the Whitebeard pirates. I will agree to your request. As soon as these words came out, Jinbei and Princess Otahime became discolored at the same time. There the Fishmen Island is still under the command of the Whitebeard pirates. If Jinbei kills the captain of the Whitebeard pirates, it would be a blatant rebellion against Whitebeard, and even to start the war, for an Arlong to offend the Whitebeard pirates, let alone Jinbei would not agree, even all the Murlocs would definitely not agree. Sakazuki Admiral, you are deliberately embarrassing us, we are just a small Murloc. How dare we fight the Whitebeard pirates? Jinbei said. Don't think the Murlocs are a race, but to put it ugly, their strength is just like that. Compared with the 4 emperors, they are not at the same level. Not to mention the Whitebeard pirates, even if they belong to the Whitebeard pirates. The pirate group, just send a few, it is estimated that the Fishmen Island can be wiped out. Akainu reluctantly said, you asked me to make some conditions, but I made a few, but none of you agreed. Is this the attitude you should have in negotiations? Princess Otahime said, it's not that we didn't agree, but that your request is too difficult. We simply don't have the ability to do it, and we can't represent all Murlocs. Seeing the appearance of Princess Otahime and Jinbei, Akainu knew that they were beginning to retreat, so he sat up straight and was about to talk to them seriously. As for everything just said, it was deliberate, so he was going to try. The bottom line of the Fishmen Island. And now, he has almost tempted. He knows that if he doesn't let go, Jinbei and the others will probably leave, and then go to Marine Marshal Sengoku to negotiate. Then, in Sengoku's way of dealing with things, he will definitely agree to Jinbei without hesitation. This is the result he does not want to see. Princess Otahime and Jinbei really retreated, because Akainu's request was too much in their opinion, and they would never agree to it. But just when they were about to leave, Akainu suddenly said again, however, after we have been working together for several years, I can also take a step back. The 2 people who were about to give up, their eyes lit up, and Jinbei asked eagerly, you said. It's no wonder that Jinbei was pinched by Akainu's nose so much. He really cares about Arlong too much, and Akainu's status is also very high. As long as he can nod his head and release someone from impelled down, it will not be easy. 2 requirements. Akainu held up 2 fingers and said, first, you can join 7 warlords of the sea, but you must ensure that after becoming Shichibukai, you must not use Shichibukai's power to do evil, and you must incline to naval headquarters, and that is, it is necessary to kill 3 pirates with a bounty of hundreds of millions of dollars as a token of fame. Jinbei thought for a while, nodded and said, I agree to this condition. Very good. Akainu said, the second condition is that because of the special geographic location of the Fishmen Island, our marine branch is inconvenient to catch pirates on the seabed, so I hope you the Fishmen Island can allow Murlocs to join us in marine branch. This. Princess Otahime suddenly hesitated, and she didn't want to agree, because she couldn't figure out what Akainu intended. Akainu did not wait for her to speak, and continued, don't worry, I will not forcefully ask. I will only let those Murlocs who are willing to join our marine branch to join, and promise not to persecute them, nor to persecute you. This request was fairly fair. Princess Otahime hesitated and agreed, because in her bones she still hoped that the Murlocs could come into contact with humans, so as to reach the point of peaceful coexistence and mutual understanding. In fact, it is her. If Neptune came here, he would never agree to this condition. Akainu also seized this opportunity to make this request. He knew that there must be many Murlocs. People yearn for the outside world. As long as Princess Otahime agrees, he will have a way to recruit more Murlocs in the future. Since you have agreed to both conditions, even if we have reached a consensus, we won't change it anymore, right? Akainu looked at Princess Otahime and Jinbei, and asked. He didn't know what price Jinbei paid to get the Neptunes to agree to such a request, but this has nothing to do with him, as long as he can achieve his own goals. Jinbei and the 2 naturally agreed very much, and they were afraid that Akainu would go back. Akainu said, of course, The necessary money and treasures are still needed. As you all know, although first I'm Marine Admiral, the deep-sea prison impelled down does not belong to my jurisdiction. Let's take care of it, not to mention that you are not only asking me to save one or two, but many people. Of course Princess Otahime would not refuse this point. Their savings in the Fishmen Island for hundreds of years would naturally not be short of money, as long as they could rescue people. After everything was settled, Akainu said to Jinbei, I'll make sure that you become Shichibukai first. 3 days later, you will follow me and we will go to naval headquarters together. Akainu moved quickly. After he reported the situation of Jinbei and the Pirates of the Sun to the headquarters, Sengoku immediately agreed after seeing it. After all, he was also having a headache for Shichibukai's position. The person who became Shichibukai, the fishman Jinbei recommended by Akainu, was just a suitable candidate. Sakazuki, are you really going to promise them to let the pirates go? The ghost spider asked Akainu incomprehensibly. According to his understanding, that Arlong Murloc is not a good stubble. He hates humans extremely. If he is released, he will definitely be evil again. Akainu said coldly. How could I easily let him go for such a heinous person? It is just a stopgap measure. After everything is done, he will have no value in existence. The ghost spider immediately understood and said, Are you going to let him go first, and then kill him? Akainu said, I didn't kill him, but they were killed by others. They are just a group of self-righteous Murlocs. I want to kill them. It's not easy. That's how he planned it, and it's not against the agreement. After all, he only promised Jinbei to release Arlong and the others from impelled down, but if he didn't agree, he wouldn't bother them. People like Arlong would die 100 times. Not enough, how could he easily let them go? 3 days later, Akainu took Jinbei away from the Fishmen Island, first returned to naval headquarters, handed Jinbei to Marine Marshal Sengoku, and then he continued down towards Impel. Impel Down is the most important prison of the world government, so the location is naturally very special. It is in the calm belt. Only from a specific place and a special method can you get there, and as long as Marine closes other entrances and exits, no ships should even enter Impel Down. I used the ocean current to come to Impel Down. Speaking of it, this is the first time Akainu has come to this prison. This prison is different from other prisons in the world. It is a prison built in the sea. Only a small part of it is exposed to the sea. It is impossible to see what the inside of the prison is. Because they had already passed through Magellan, the warden of Impel Down, after Akainu and the others arrived, they didn't even need to enter the prison. Magellan had already brought Arlong and other pirates to the junction. Sakazuki Admiral, these pirates are who you were talking about, and now I leave them to you. As the warden of Impel Down, although Magellan is inferior to Marine Admiral's status, because the two do not belong to the same department, he does not have much respect for Akainu, and his attitude is very plain. Akainu just stared at Magellan indifferently. Magellan is the warden of Impel Down. Magellan will stay here for the rest of his life. He will not leave. He also has a very firm attitude towards criminals and only believes in his own justice. This kind of person is the most direct. Thank you, Director Magellan, I will take them away. There was no communication. Akainu asked Arlong and other pirates to board the warship. He counted them. There were 13 pirates in total, all with injuries. It seemed that they were tortured in prison. Look at what to see, and then see if I kill you. As soon as Akainu boarded the boat, he heard a grumpy roar. He turned his head and saw that it was Arlong who was yelling. Snapped. Akainu slapped Arlong directly into the air, rolled over 10 meters on the deck, and then let his subordinates pull him over, staring at him coldly, and said, Arlong, don't challenge my patience, otherwise I can't help but kill you. But Arlong is a bastard. Don't look at his strength, but he is definitely a very self-aware and arrogant person. After being slapped and threatened by Akainu, instead of fear, he roared louder. Come on, you humans, come and kill me, come on. Akainu suddenly stretched out his hand, grabbed him by the neck, and lifted him up. The burly and tall Arlong was like a chicken in front of Akainu. Brother Arlong. Seeing Arlong being picked up by Akainu, the dozen or so pirates who were handcuffed suddenly yelled with excitement, but how could they break free from the control of Marine soldiers? Akainu looked at Arlong and said coldly, In my eyes, you are just a reptile, not as good as rubbish. I want to kill you. It is easier than crushing ants all the time. You say that humans are cheap species, who will give you courage, huh? Arlong was caught by the neck, but he still said with difficulty, Unless you kill me, I will kill all of you humans sooner or later. Akainu threw him aside and said condescendingly, I will not kill you, because sometimes killing does not achieve the goal. I will let you live and regret living in this world, just like you killed innocent people. Like civilians, I will find you one by one. Listening to Akainu's cold tone, Arlong's heart trembled when he didn't come, but because of his extreme hatred of humans, he didn't even provide Akainu with fear at all, but stared at Akainu angrily. "Who are you? Why did you bring us out of prison?" Akainu said, "First am Marine Admiral Akainu. As for why you brought out these wastes, you will know soon." Marine Admiral Akainu. Except for Arlong, the other Murlocs all showed fear after hearing Akainu's name. Fear score from Murloc Kruby, +124, from. The prompts of the system made Akainu's eyes suddenly bright. These Murlocs are a group of objects that can provide him with a fear value. Take them to the cabin and take the instruments of torture. I will charge a little interest for the dead civilians first. After hearing Akainu's words, all the soldiers on the warship trembled in their hearts. They are all veterans of Akainu's command. Naturally, they knew the immediate superior better. They all knew that Akainu had a torturous preference and the methods were very vicious. Let alone those who are being tortured, even people like them are reluctant to watch it live. From Impel down to Naval Headquarters, it took about an hour in total, but Akainu was stunned for a few hours. Walking out of the bottom cabin of the warship, Akainu stretched out and told the soldiers guarding outside, "Go in and clean up, lift them all out, prepare to enter the base, and hand them to Jinbei." After speaking, he walked onto the deck, and the soldiers at the door were already used to it, but when they entered the cabin, they watched the scene full of blood and most of the dying Murloc and pirates. At the same time, they sighed. It was also terrified. Sakazuki Admiral's methods are really getting more and more powerful. It's only been a long time before these Murlocs are tortured. These guys are really pitiful. If you don't offend anyone, you have to provoke Sakazuki Admiral. What's more, the scene here is so bloody, but Sakazuki has no stains at all. Although these soldiers are all private soldiers under Akainu, they all know what kind of person their immediate boss is. Treating the pirates is absolutely cruel, and the pirates fall into his hands and will never end well. When Jinbei saw the miserable appearance of Arlong and others, he asked Akainu in shock, "Mr. Sakazuki, what is going on?" Akainu didn't conceal it either, and said lightly, "These people of yours are too ignorant. I tried to teach you something, is there a problem?" Jinbei's facial muscles twitched a few times, and he was dissatisfied, but he did not dare to show it. This is Naval Headquarters. He is just a person who just joined Shichibukai. There is no right to question Akainu's decision. Moreover, Arlong and others are miserable, but at any rate, his life was saved, and he was released from Impelled Down. "No problem. Thank you Mr. Sakazuki for letting Arlong them." Akainu snorted coldly. "If it weren't for your hard plea, I wouldn't let them go easily. You also know what kind of people they are and how many innocent civilians died in their hands, but after you take them away, to warn them well, it's best not to commit crimes easily, otherwise they will not end well." Hearing Akainu's threat, Jinbei's face was heavy. He also knew what kind of character Arlong was. He could suppress it when he had Tiger Boss, but now, he can't suppress Arlong at all, unless he doesn't let Arlong leave him. Sight, but how can this kind of thing be done? Because Sengoku has agreed to let Jinbei become Shichibukai, his people have also been granted permission to enter Marineford's area, preparing to leave with Arlong and others. But before leaving, Jinbei suddenly said to Akainu, "Mr. Sakazuki, there is someone who might be interested in you. He asked me to bring you a message." Akainu was surprised. "Does Jinbei know anyone he knows? Let him take the words, say." Jinbei said, "The origin of that person is a bit special. He just asked me to ask you a word. If you remember, tell me where he is. If you don't remember, you don't need to say anything else." Akainu frowned unconsciously, making him so mysterious, but it also made him interested, and said again, "You said." Jinbei said, "What he wants to ask is, do you remember the joke at Marie Joy's?" Maria Joy. Akainu was suddenly surprised when he heard this. He has only been to Marie Joy's once, but apart from 5 elders, he has also dealt with the celestial dragons who are above the top. He doesn't know anyone else. Wait, celestial dragons? Suddenly he thought of a person, that is, after he stunned celestial dragons, he had a conversation with him, and also reminded him of the giant slave. Is it that Jinbei is talking about that person? "Is that giant?" he asked tentatively. Jinbei's eyes lit up and he nodded and said, "Yes, it seems that you still remember. He asked me to tell you. If you still remember the joke, go find him somewhere, and he will wait for you there." Then he said the location. After Jinbei left, Akainu laughed with interest and muttered to himself, "I didn't expect that you could actually escape. At this time, I want to see me. It seems that I really believed what I said. Since I said what I said, I definitely won't regret it, so I'll see you." The giant slave of celestial dragons gave him a deep impression. He was different from ordinary slaves. His eyes were not only numb, but also tenacity and hope. That's why he said that at the beginning. However, Akainu also knew why the other party wanted to be so mysterious. After all, he was a slave and a giant. His goal was too big. Since he escaped, he naturally didn't want to be caught back as a slave, so Jinbei was asked to test him. The other party was so cautious, Akainu would naturally not harm him. After he arrived at Sabodi Archipelago on a warship, he went to the internal appointment alone, because the place Jinbei said was in the 19th area of Sabodi Archipelago. I have to say that this giant is really courageous. He is obviously a fugitive, but he stayed in the Sabodi Archipelago not far from the naval headquarters. You must know that this is within the scope of Marine. If they are found, they will not be able to escape. Will be sent back to Marie Joy's. When he came to a very dilapidated building, Akainu knocked on the door softly, and a sound was heard from inside. Who? Akainu said lightly. Marie Joy's old friend, come here for the appointment. As soon as he said this, he clearly heard a sound of surprise inside. In fact, he had already used observation hockey at this time. Without mood swings, he could clearly feel that he was in this building, probably living in the second place. A dozen people. The door was opened, but the person who opened the door saw Akainu and exclaimed. Then he was about to close the door, but Akainu held it down. It's Marine. In an instant, everyone in the room moved. Although it was dark inside, it could be heard from the clanging voice that these people had taken up their weapons. First Marine Admiral Akainu, I am not here to catch you. Akainu doesn't have to think about it and know that the people here must be like the giant, who are all slaves who escaped from Marie Joy's, so when he hears that Marie Joy's is deceased, they will easily open the door because they must feel that they are just like them. Also a slave. To these slaves, he did not hostile either, but his tone was light. At this time, a calm voice came from inside. Don't be afraid, everyone, I called him, not to arrest us. I saw a very tall giant walking out of the crowd. This person was 6 or 7 meters tall, but as soon as he saw him, Akainu recognized him. It was when he was in Marie Joy's that he was killed by celestial dragons. The giant as a mount. Sure enough, it's you. Akainu said in a deep voice when he saw this person. The giant also looked at Akainu in surprise, and said, I didn't expect you to actually come. Akainu said, since I promised you, I will naturally keep the promise. Boss Maxwell, what are you doing? This guy is Marine Admiral. Why did you call him over? Yeah, Boss Maxwell, do you want to kill us? From the names of the surrounding population, it can be seen that Maxwell's status among this group of people is still very high. Akainu looked at the giant curiously. He also just learned the giant's name, which was originally called Maxwell. I saw Maxwell said, don't be nervous, everyone, he is not an enemy, but someone who can save us. But he is Marine Admiral. Maxwell said, Marine is not all enemies, he is different from the group of celestial dragons. Although Mavis promised, the people around him still stared at Akainu very vigilantly. Akainu ignored these people, but asked Maxwell, why do you think I am not that kind of person? We only met once, so you trust me? Maxwell said, although there is only one side, I believe in my own vision. How can someone who dares to beat celestial dragons be willing to help celestial dragons do things? What? He played celestial dragons. Hearing what Maxwell said, the slaves around all showed incredible expressions, looking at Akainu in disbelief. Maxwell said with certainty, what I said is true. He hit the celestial dragons who imprisoned me. I was on the scene and was able to injure the celestial dragons, but was not targeted. It really happened to me. Unexpected. Akainu said, I didn't come here to listen to you compliment me. Since you came to me, do you want to promise me the promise I made to you? He just asked tentatively, but he didn't expect the giant Maxwell to answer without hesitation. Yes. Akainu was surprised and asked, you really want to? Maxwell said, because I have nowhere to go and become a slave. I can't go back to my previous hometown. I will be wanted when I walk outside. People look down on it, and none of us want to live like that. So you found me? Akainu asked. Maxwell said, yes, I just don't know if you were willing to take us in. After all, we are fugitives from Marie Joy's. If you take us in, you have to bear a certain risk. He was right. Don't even think that Akainu is now Marine Admiral, but he can't openly appear with celestial dragon slaves. Seeing Akainu hesitating, Maxwell's eyes showed longing. He really couldn't find anyone else who could take them in, because the world is not afraid of celestial dragons, so there are really few who can find them. The 4 emperors of New World are pretty good choice, but the problem is that the masters of the pirate group are like clouds, and they don't like them at all. It's hard to say whether they will take the risk of taking them in. Not only Maxwell was nervous, but the rest of the slaves present were also very nervous. Before, they were hostile to Akainu because they were afraid that Akainu would take them back. But now Akainu obviously didn't mean it. Instead, they were considering whether to take them in. I hope Akainu can help them. After all, Akainu is Marine Admiral and has a lot of energy. Your former status makes you really unsuitable for doing things in Marine, Akainu said slowly. Upon hearing this, Maxwell and the others all showed disappointment. Akainu was already their last hope. Even Akainu could not help them, so no one could help them. But Akainu suddenly changed his words and said, "But if you really want to do something for me, I can also provide you with a safe takeout, but I don't know if you want it." The desperate Maxwell and others suddenly became excited, and Maxwell asked nervously, "We just want a simple place to live, as long as you can take us in, we will swear allegiance to our death." Regarding what Maxwell said, although Akainu did not fully believe it, he believed 70% to 80%, because for the slaves in front of them, they really had no way to go. Now this road is their last hope, so they of course I hope to be able to catch it. A light flashed in Akainu's eyes and said, "How can I trust you?" Maxwell was taken aback, and then looked at each other, and finally he said, "We are all slaves with nowhere to go. As long as you help us, we will swear allegiance to the death, but we really have nothing to guarantee. Only our loyalty." With that said, he suddenly knelt down to where Akainu was, showing his loyalty, and the rest of the slaves hesitated for a while, and then, like Maxwell, knelt down to Akainu. Maxwell pointed to everyone and said, "Akainu Admiral, although we people are just insignificant slaves, we are all skilled people before we become slaves. You will not lose out if you accept us." Akainu turned his gaze on everyone, and then said, "You have to think carefully. Even if you join my subordinates, I will not be able to change your identity in a short time. You can only do things for me in secret, but I can guarantee that it will definitely be better than you guys hiding in Tibet now." Maxwell said, "What we all want now is just a place to live, and we dare not ask for anything else." Good. This trip really surprised him. He thought that Maxwell might want to take refuge in him, but he didn't expect Maxwell to bring so many people with him. Just looking at it with his eyes, he can find that the people here are not ordinary people. I am afraid that these people were also secretly convened by Maxwell. It should be because he was afraid that his weight alone was not enough to impress him, so he brought so many people. But in any case, it is a good phenomenon that these people can surrender themselves. He secretly took out a loyalty card from the system, and then chose Maxwell. Use loyalty card, target, Maxwell novel nut. The loyalty card is successfully used, and the target loyalty is improved. He used the loyalty card against Maxwell and succeeded. This made Akainu relieved. Although the loyalty card is not omnipotent, at least it is certain that the Maxwell in front of him is genuinely loyal to him. No need to worry so much. Regarding the placement of the giant Maxwell and others, Akainu has thought of a good way. Although he can't excuse these people, some people can. That is the hidden hand he left behind, and now it is the pirate's Hayward. Hayward is an important piece in his hand. He is going to make Hayward a Shichibukai. He didn't let Hayward develop the pirates before, just didn't want him to recruit distrustful men, but now he can use Maxwell. Waiting for someone to be sent to Hayward's command can not only strengthen the momentum of the world, but also can make conditions to the world government, killing two birds with one stone. After I told Maxwell about this matter, Maxwell was suddenly surprised. Although Hayward has some fame now, Maxwell and the others didn't know him, nor had they seen him. They just knew that Hayward was a sea. The thief is actually from Marine Admiral Akainu, which really surprised them. Akainu said with a cold face, "This matter is confidential, so I don't want any of you to disclose it. If it is revealed, I will not have anything to say, but it is difficult for you to say." Although they were warned by Akainu, Maxwell and others were not angry at all. Instead, they were very happy, because they felt that Akainu had told them such secret things, that they really wanted to subdue them, not just feel free to deal with it. Maxwell promised, "You can rest assured, this will never happen, otherwise I don't want you to say, I will personally solve the betrayal." For these people, Akainu is actually more at ease. After all, these people were originally just slaves, and now he has given them a way to survive, and they can live with integrity, which is absolutely a dream thing for them as slaves. He gave Hayward's contact information to Maxwell, and then left Saboti Archipelago without asking. As for why he trusted Maxwell and other slaves so easily, because he didn't put these people in his eyes at all. Let them be convinced of themselves and do things for themselves. And Hayward did not let him down. After Maxwell and others took refuge, he immediately pulled up a pirate group and quickly became famous. In just a few months, he became famous. When the pirate forces thought that a new pirate force was about to rise, Hayward suddenly accepted the solicitation of naval headquarters and joined 7 warlords of the sea. Hayward's move really shocked a large group of people, because many big figures value him more and think that he will be a new star in the pirate world, but who knows that this new star has not fully grown up yet, has been subordinated to the world government. Because of joining 7 warlords of the sea, Hayward immediately pulled his pirate group to the first half of the Grand Line. Since staying in New World will definitely be hostile by various pirates, it is better to pull back to the Grand Line, the first half of development. Of course, everything that Hayward did was assigned by Akainu, but after Hayward became Shichibukai, they had never seen it once. In the entire marine, The only people who knew about his relationship with Hayward were Lucas and Claude both. Teacher, I am going to North Blue with the women's barracks. One day, Lasana, who had been silent for a while, suddenly found Akainu and said to him. Akainu asked in surprise, why are you going to North Blue? Also coming with Lasana was Zhuan Yuan, Rear Admiral. She explained, we are going to meet up with Senior Crane. She is hunting down a dark force in North Blue. The situation is a bit complicated, so she is planning to transfer everyone in the female barracks. Past. Hearing what Zhuanyuan said, Akainu's heart moved. Of course, he knows that the purpose of Vice Admiral sent by Sengoku to North Blue is to destroy a large dark force in North Blue, the Don Quixote family. However, the Don Quixote family is indeed amazing. It is deeply rooted in North Blue. Even characters like Suru Vice Admiral have been to North Blue for so long, but they haven't completely found the base of Don Quixote family. It's just a part of the information from the master. After several fights, they were all escaped by Don Quixote's men. Because there was no gain for such a long time, Crane Vice Admiral prepared to step up operations and transferred all the elite female barracks she had trained for a long time to North Blue. Lasana knew that she lacked the ability to lead the soldiers alone, so she decided to follow the female barracks. Go to North Blue together and exercise yourself. Of course, Akainu would not refuse, so he said to Zhuan Yuan, Rear Admiral, Zhuan Yuan, Rear Admiral, then my disciple will trouble you to take care of it. If she did something wrong, you are welcome, just reprimand it. Zhuan Yuan smiled softly and said, Lasana is a very capable girl. I like her and it's too late. It can be seen that the relationship between Zhuan Yuan and Lasana is really good. Although they are a lot of years behind, they look like sisters. Looking at Zhuan Yuan, Akainu suddenly said, speaking of which, the last time Crane Vice Admiral and Zhuan Yuan Rear Admiral were able to support me, I have never had the opportunity to thank Senior Crane. Zhuan Yuan said, in fact, we didn't help much either. Akainu solemnly said, that's not what I said. Your support at the time was the most important to me. Since this time it was Senior Crane who was in trouble, if you don't mind, I can help. Hearing that Akainu wanted to help, Zhuan Yuan didn't seem very happy, but just kept smiling and said, Sakazuki Admiral, I'm sorry. This matter is really not something I can decide. If you don't mind, we will treat you to North Blue after we arrive at North Blue. I will convey the meaning to he Vice Admiral, and then I will give you an answer. Akainu didn't mind and said, of course I have no opinion, then I will wait for your news. He also knew that this matter could not be decided by Zhuan Yuan. After all, Vice Admiral Crane was responsible for the hunt for Don Quixote family. If he intervened rashly, Vice Admiral Crane might think. After sending away Zhuan Yuan and Lasana, Akainu thought about it alone. He knew that Vice Admiral would definitely not be able to catch Don Quixote family. After all, Doflamingo's ability is still very strong. Although Doflamingo has been avoiding war in the comics, it is not said that he was afraid of Vice Admiral, but didn't want to fight naval headquarters. Doflamingo is definitely the most ambitious one of Shichibukai in the comics. Akainu really does not want such a person to join Shichibukai. As long as Doflamingo is absent, the underground forces of New World will not be righteous by Doflamingo, and he will be able to fight better. Pirate forces, so he has been thinking about how to get rid of Doflamingo. After waiting at naval headquarters for a few months, Akainu did not receive a reply from Vice Admiral, but he also understood what he meant. He did not need his help. Regarding this, Akainu didn't care. He was already in North Blue. Pioneer Lucas had already sent in. So no matter if Vice Admiral needed his help, he would go to North Blue, not just for Doflamingo's Don Quixote family. There are other purposes. But before he was ready to leave, the opportunity came. Marshal Sengoku, are you looking for me? In Sengoku's office, Akainu sat in front of Sengoku and asked faintly. In the past year or so, he has met Sengoku very few times. This is his intention, and so is Sengoku. Time has passed for so long, and I don't know whether Sengoku really let go or is deep in his mind. In short, when facing Akainu, he is still the same as before, neither enthusiastic nor alienated. Sakazuki, calling you over this time, there is indeed a very important thing, but it is not our marine business, but a mission from Marie Joyce. Sengoku said to Akainu. Akainu looked surprised. Since Sengoku was talking about Maria Joyce's mission, it must have been ordered by 5 elders. What task? Sengoku said. Not long ago, a wave of pirates in North Blue got the legendary op fruit, and they also offered to trade with us, but they had to pay them 5 billion Baileys. I agree, but 5 elders got the news somehow, and he wants us to bring op fruit to them. Op fruit. Akainu was shocked. Through the animation, he knows what kind of fruit op fruit is, whether it is attack or defense, it is very good, especially the healing ability, which is even more amazing. But the most amazing thing is its ultimate ability, the ageless operation that can give others an ageless life. Although it has not been proven, since it has been spread, it must be reasonable. Why? Have a question. Sengoku asked when Akainu showed a different face. Akainu said, I have heard of op fruit. It is rumored that it can give people immortality. Is this true or false? Sengoku didn't expect Akainu to care about this. He shook his head and said, the rumors are rumors after all, and they should be fake. In fact, he is not sure, but he thinks this possibility shouldn't be great. Akainu asked, if it's not true, will the people above buy it for 5 billion Baileys, or will they buy it from the pirate? Sengoku asked in surprise. Sakazuki, your question today is a bit strange, don't you usually look like this? Akainu said, it's just a little curious. Since you don't know, then forget it. What I don't understand is that since 5 Elders is interested in this op fruit, why don't you send your cronies to Marine? Go. Sengoku said, I don't know, but since they have ordered it down, we can only do it. Although it is overkill to let you do the transaction, this time I will not only let you get op fruit, but also if you want to destroy the Barreras pirates, they are the pirates with op fruit. Although Akainu knew that op fruit was acquired by the pirates and traded with Marine, but what the specific pirate group was, when he first watched the anime, he really didn't care about this little detail, but vaguely remembered that there was a boy from the island escaped and later became one of the supernovae of Luffy's era. He really didn't remember so many others. The captain of the Barreros pirates was originally our Marine's general, but this guy was greedy for profit and turned into a pirate. This time he actually wants to trade with our Marine. I will send you just in case. Don't let the news go out. Akainu understood the meaning of Sengoku. It was very simple, it was black eating black, not only wanted to get op fruit, but also not ready to let go of the Barreras pirates. I know what to do. Akainu nodded, and after learning the specific information from Sengoku, he was about to turn around and leave. But at this moment, Sengoku suddenly asked quietly, Sakazuki, what do you think of the situation at Naval Headquarters now? Akainu was startled, and said suspiciously, very good. Sengoku looked at him and said calmly, since you also think that Marine's current situation is good, shouldn't it be maintained forever and not break the peace? Akainu's heart was shocked, and he met Sengoku's gaze. At this moment, he read a lot from Sengoku's gaze. After 5 minutes of silence, Akainu said, I know what to do. Sengoku nodded with satisfaction and said, Sakazuki, you are a very smart and talented person. I am very optimistic about you, so I hope you can do your best to dedicate your efforts to Marine. Marine's future depends on you. Such a young man, let it be, for the next 5 years, you will stay in North Blue and eliminate the pirates there. Akainu responded, and then said, then I'll leave, Marshal Sengoku. At the moment they turned around, the faces of Akainu and Sengoku changed at the same time, and they were no longer calm. After Akainu left Sengoku's office, his face became gloomy. He knew that Sengoku must have discovered his secret behavior. Although he didn't know how much he knew, since he said it all in front of him, it means that he knows. There must be a lot. The seemingly simple conversation just now is actually warning him. As expected of the resourceful general, I underestimated you. With a low snort, Akainu was upset, but he had no other thoughts. Sengoku discovered his plan. This did not exceed his expectations, but he didn't expect Sengoku to react so quickly. He just started the layout. His plan was disrupted by Sengoku. He did not expect that Sengoku not only warned him face to face, but before the decision of the high-level meeting, he was assigned to North Blue, and it was 5 years. This kind of determination and harshness, it is no wonder that Sengoku can be based on Marine for decades, without declining. But it's just what I want, North Blue still has a lot to do. Although he was irritated by Sengoku's distribution, Akainu was a little grateful. Fortunately, it was North Blue, not East Blue, West Blue and the like. There are still things he can do in North Blue. At the same time, he also knows why Sengoku transferred him away in order to weaken his prestige in Naval Headquarters. After all, his current name is no worse than Sengoku. Compared with other Admiral Kizaru, Sengoku wants to suppress him. Transferring him away is the best choice. After all, this world has new people and forget the old. If he does not appear in the world for a few years, his reputation will be greatly weakened, especially in Marine. He, Admiral, has not appeared for a few years. The veteran is okay. Recruit if you do, who knows how good you are. Sengoku in the office also had a deep gaze, and sighed faintly. Sakazuki, it's not that I intend to suppress you, but what you did makes me feel terrified. What Marine needs now is to develop slowly, not like you. As radical as I thought, and now first am Marshal Marine. At the end, he slapped his hand heavily on the table, showing how uneasy he was. Marshal Sengoku really transferred you to North Blue to guard Sakazuki Admiral for 5 years? When Akainu told the command to the generals under his command, such as Jonathan, Dolo, and others, they were all very angry. Sengoku's move was basically suppressing Akainu. As Akainu's loyal subordinates, they were of course very dissatisfied. Compared with their anger, Akainu was much calmer, and said indifferently, "Don't worry too much, I just happen to be going to North Blue. It's only 5 years, and it will soon pass." Although he said this, he was actually very upset in his heart. After all, he wanted to go to North Blue to do errands. That was his business, but now Sengoku is forcibly ordered to stay in North Blue for 5 years, which is different from what he volunteered. Ends. This time Jonathan will go with me, and you will all stay in the headquarters. North Blue is no better than the first half of the Grand Line. There is no need for so many generals to go with him. He can suppress North Blue alone, and taking them with them is just a waste of troops. It is better to let them stay in naval headquarters. Everyone also knew Akainu's temper, so they didn't say anything. Akainu was also very decisive. On the third day, he left naval headquarters in a warship. "Hey, Sengoku, it's a bit unreliable for you to do this. Sakazuki is also Marine Admiral anyway. You sent him to North Blue. Do you know what everyone talked about these past 2 days? Garp said. Regarding Sengoku's transfer of Akainu to North Blue, there was indeed a hurricane in the naval headquarters. The hawks of the high-level generals almost got into trouble for this, and in the end, it was Akainu who came forward to settle it. In addition to these people, the camp of ordinary soldiers also caused a great shock, because Akainu has a high prestige in the minds of ordinary soldiers. That is, Akainu. As a result, such people are still being distributed, which is difficult for many people to accept. Say that I'm arbitrarily and arrogant, don't you? Sengoku snorted and said, if I don't do this, it won't take long before Sakazuki will mess up naval headquarters and distribute him to North Blue. I will be the only one to bear the infamy, better than naval headquarters chaos is better. Garp asked suspiciously. Is it as serious as you said? Sakazuki, I think it's not bad, right? You don't want to do the kind of thing you said? Not now, doesn't mean it won't in the future. Take precautions before they happen, understand? Sengoku said. Garp waved his hand and said, okay, whatever you do, of course I believe you, but others don't. Sengoku is silent. He knows that Akainu has been simple these years, and he has been eliminating pirates most of the time. He has high prestige in the minds of ordinary soldiers, and he also knows that doing so may cause a lot of dissatisfaction, but he did it anyway, because he felt the ambition in Akainu's eyes. Akainu departed from naval headquarters, and after arriving in North Blue, he went directly to the Marine Branch base where Lucas was located. Lucas has been outbound for nearly a year. Basically, he will report to Akainu every once in a while. So even though Akainu has never been here, he still knows a little bit about this base. Sakazuki Admiral. Lucas was very happy to see Akainu again, but when he saw that the faces of Akainu and others were not very good, he was suddenly a little strange, and then Jonathan gave the reason. What? Marshal Sengoku sent Sakazuki Admiral to North Blue. Lucas was very shocked and very angry. Sakazuki was not only his immediate boss, but also his idol. As a result, Sakazuki was treated like this by Sengoku, and he was naturally very angry. Okay, don't talk about it anymore. How did you do what I asked you to do? Akainu said. Lucas calmed down and immediately replied, the pirates around have been eliminated, but the Don Quixote family you asked me to investigate has not yet accurate information, but only knows their temporary strongholds, but there is one thing. There seems to be something wrong with Don Quixote. Akainu asked him to come to North Blue. Naturally, he not only exercised himself, but also ordered him to gather information. It's just that the Don Quixote family has been rooted in North Blue for many years and has a profound background. Limited. Crane Vice Admiral and they. Akainu asked again. Lucas said. Crane Vice Admiral is chasing Don Quixote family, but he killed a lot of pirates, but it didn't hit the internal members of Don Quixote family. Don Quixote family's Doflamingo is indeed a very shrewd and cunning person. After coming to North Blue, he knew how powerful the Don Quixote family is in North Blue. They are not only pirates, but also control the underground world of North Blue, selling arms and human beings. As long as it is a profitable business, they are involved. Not only are they strong, but they are also very difficult to deal with throughout North Blue. Crane Vice Admiral is the General Staff of Naval Headquarters, and the army under his command is also an elite division, but there is still no way to use Don Quixote family. You can imagine how strong their strength is. Akainu nodded and said, Doflamingo is indeed a person. I don't need to investigate him for the time being. I already know how to deal with him. What about the thing I asked you to do? Lucaston looked embarrassed and replied ashamed, I'm sorry, Sakazuki Admiral, I did something bad. Akainu looked at Lucas in amazement, and asked, did you mess up? Lucas said helplessly. They were already about to succeed, but their advantage underwater was too great, and finally let them escape some people. Akainu looked dissatisfied. What he said to Lucas was the Arlong pirates. It turned out that after Arlong and the others were taken away by Jinbei, because Jinbei joined 7 warlords of the sea, the two sides parted ways. With Akainu's warning, Arlong didn't dare then stop in the first half of the Grand Line, ready to go to East Blue. But Akainu was not going to let him go. How could he let him go to East Blue? He couldn't do anything on the surface, but secretly he sent someone to drive Arlong and the others to North Blue, and let Lucas take advantage of Marine's advantage. Destroy the Arlong pirate group. But he didn't expect Lucas to defeat a mere Murloc pirate group, which naturally made him dissatisfied. Lucas didn't dare to speak, waiting in fear for Akainu's scolding. If they ran away. There are just a few Murlocs on the left and right. They can't get through any storms. As long as they dare to show up again, it will be their death date. Dissatisfied with dissatisfaction, Akainu will not punish Lucas for this. Never mind this matter. I asked you to contact the Vinsmoke family secretly. Didn't you deal with it? The Vinsmoke family was originally a royal family. It used to control the entire North Blue by force. Although it has no territory, it can participate in the World Summit. It is the most timid family in North Blue. North Blue's marine and world government officials are equivalent. Fear them. Because he was the former North Blue overlord, the current owner of Vinsmoke has been committed to restoring the glory of the Vinsmoke family, not only researching technology, but also cultivating assassins. He is a well-known assassin clan in the underground world. As far as the world government is concerned, he does not like the ambitious Vinsmoke family, but because of the strength and background of this family, they maintain the Vinsmoke family's World Summit qualifications. The reason why Akainu asked Lucas to contact this clan is naturally to use their power. Although the Vinsmoke family has ambitions, it is limited to North Blue. The power of this clan is not weak, especially their technological power. Absolutely ahead of the current world for many years, so this is not a small force. If it is pulled into its own camp, it is definitely not a small help. Lucas said. In North Blue, the Vinsmoke family is indeed very strong and very arrogant. When I contacted them before, they didn't want to pay attention to it, but after I said your name, they willing to meet with you. Regarding this situation, Akainu didn't feel surprised either. Don't look at Vinsmoke now that it was no longer the royal family that dominated North Blue, but the arrogance in their bones was not lost at all. You ask them immediately, saying that I will meet with them tomorrow, Akainu told Lucas. Yes. In the evening of the next day, Akainu met the current owner of the Vinsmoke family, that is, the Vinsmoke judge. The two talked for a long time, but apart from the two of them, no one else knew what they had said. Because Akainu doesn't know the exact location of the Op fruit transaction, he still needs to wait for Sengoku's order to be delivered, so he can only stay in the Marine branch base and wait, but since he has come to North Blue, it is naturally impossible to do nothing. Is waiting. Akainu personally led Marine to start the surrender of the North Blue pirate forces. In just 1 month, more than a dozen pirate groups were wiped out by Akainu. For a while, the entire North Blue pirates were frightened. Don't dare to come out again to cause trouble. Young master, 2 of our strongholds have been swept away by Marine recently. In a town in North Blue, this is a stronghold of the famous Don Quixote family in North Blue. At this time, several high-level officials of Don Quixote are all gathered here. Toripel. Toripel is one of the top cadres of Don Quixote besides the young master Doflamingo. His position is second only to Doflamingo, and Doflamingo was able to grow to where it is today because of several top cadres such as Toripel. For Doflamingo, several of their top cadres are very important to him. Because it is Doflamingo's right and left hand, Toripel controls the family's high power. Doflamingo, wearing a feather coat and sunglasses, raised his head and asked, "Did the crane from Naval Headquarters?" Marine led by Vice Admiral has been chasing them for more than a year. He was really annoyed. He was hit by Marine's strategy several times and caused a lot of losses. Therefore, he told Vice Admiral, "I'm very afraid, I've been avoiding each other recently, and I'm not willing to turn my face completely." But when he heard that his own turf had been wiped out, he immediately seemed very upset. Although he was afraid of Naval Headquarters, he couldn't let the other party wipe out his own strength in this way. "It's not the crane, but a more powerful character," Toripel replied. Doflamingo suddenly asked in surprise, "Apart from that crane, is there anyone in North Blue who is better than her?" He has been in North Blue for more than 10 years, and he is very familiar with it. Basically, he knows all the big and small forces here. And because he is doing underground trading, he knows the situation of North Blue countries. Perhaps some countries are better than their Don Quixote family. Stronger, but these people will never easily oppose them, so he is very confused. Toripel said. This man is also Marine, from Naval Headquarters, the man who can break his wrist with the New World Pirate for Emperor's Whitebeard, Marine Admiral, Akainu. What? Is it him? Doflamingo, who didn't care much, sat up straight from the chair and asked Toripal in surprise, Toripal, are you sure that it is really that Akainu? Toripal replied affirmatively. Yes. Doflamingo's face was still shocked, and he said puzzledly. Why? Marine Admiral is not staying at the Grand Line, how come to North Blue, is it for us? Thinking of this, he suddenly became very nervous. Just as nervous as him are the surrounding Toripal and Diamante, who is also one of the top cadres, said, Dover, if he is really here for us, it will be in trouble. It is said that this Akainu is strong and undefeated against Whitebeard. Not long ago, he even fought against Kaido. He sneaked into the Beast's Pirates base camp and was able to fight out. Doflamingo's face is gloomy. Of course he knows Akainu is great, but he really can't figure out why Akainu came to North Blue. Haven't Naval Headquarters sent cranes to hunt them down? Why did you send Marine Admiral Akainu here again? This is not like the style of Naval Headquarters. He has the undercover Virgo in Marine. Virgo is also Zephyr's disciple. He has been in Naval Headquarters for several years, so he knows the situation of Naval Headquarters very well. It stands to reason that although he is in the North Blue, but it is not worthwhile for Naval Headquarters to send Marine Admiral. After all, the enemy of Marine Admiral is New World 4 Emperors. Marine was able to send the veteran Crane to encircle him. He was already very concerned about him, but he never worried about his safety. After all, he still has the aura of celestial dragons on him. As for how Akainu came here, they certainly wouldn't know. This incident was just reported in Naval Headquarters and has not spread to other places. Even if they are very powerful, they won't know so quickly. If Akainu really came for us, it would be really troublesome. Doflamingo's face is gloomy. Even if he is confident and arrogant, he knows that Akainu is not easy to deal with. It's really not as good as the sky. At this time, there is an Akainu, which is very detrimental to us. Young master, we can ask Red Heart to investigate this matter, Toripal suggested. Doflamingo shook his head and said, it's too late. Let the people below have shrunk recently. Never conflict with Marine. Akainu is not what we can handle at present. We must avoid its edge. As an extremely ambitious man, Doflamingo is very sober, knowing when to be fierce and when to persuade. Akainu is Marine Admiral and controls marine power. He is no worse than the New World Pirate 4 Emperors, if he is still Marie Joyce. Celestial dragons may not need to be afraid of Akainu, but now, he has to be afraid. The top priority now is to get that op fruit. We've almost stayed here in North Blue. When all of this is almost complete, we will move our positions. It's good to be the underground overlord of North Blue, but Doflamingo is an ambitious person. North Blue is a small place that can't satisfy his ambitions. He is the king of the world. He wants to be the supreme king, so he can't stay in North Blue. Going to the Grand Line is a must. In the future, he will use Marine Admiral as his opponent, but now, he knows it is not the time.